So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Rutland Select Board meeting. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. We have Kurt Hathaway, Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty, and Sharon Russell. Joe Denardo called me before and said he was not going to be able to make it. So just keep in mind that we're down one. So all of those tight votes that we always do. Okay, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This item is the table of the June 2nd regular select board meeting minutes. Motion has been made to approve, seconded by Sharon. We were all here. I do have one change. It's on page 3. As C7, we were in the discussion of the Municipal Impact Questionnaire, and it wasn't clear there. We had talked about 3 years of payments for the police departments. That is in 6. And then item 7, the committee had discussed 5 years. And there should be a sentence that said, those present agreed on 5 years at $125 a year. And that's the only change I have. Is that acceptable to the maker and seconder?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, any other additions, deletions, or corrections? Not all in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We're going to be doing this a bit,
I gotta get up tonight.
Okay. Orders are on Joe's desk. I'm guessing everybody has seen them. Is there a motion to approve? So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the orders. Any questions or comments about any of them? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Are there any board member announcements? No. Update from the Select Board Chair, just a few things. First, remember that our last Select Board meeting of the fiscal year is 2 weeks away on the 30th of June. And that's a reminder to department heads. There are a couple of things that we usually do at the end, toward the end of the fiscal year, about making sure that certain funds are not swept into the capital improvement fund, but carried over as a separate fund. So just keep that in mind. This is not encouragement to do a spending spree, department heads.
Well, we can't
Carry that on yet, but
we're done.
this is
We're
the
done.
last, this is
This
the
is
last
it.
payment of the fiscal year.
Oh, it's the last
So-
payment. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is 52 of
Okay.
52.
So too bad you guys missed it if you didn't get it today.
Maybe we did.
Oh, you think?
Maybe we did.
All righty. Well, you've been warned. So there you have it. Just a reminder that July 3rd is a Friday evening, and we're having our joint city and town get together in celebration at Northwood Park. It should be a lot of fun. I understand the rec departments of the 2 municipalities are dreaming up some kind of a challenge between the Board of Aldermen and the Select Board. We're going to get whooped, but we'll do what we can. So thanks to all, and Mike's going to speak to this, I think, a little bit later, but it's been a great effort, a lot of cooperation from the city, all of the town departments and the city departments. We're going to be flying the drone. And Rooster, our police canine, is going to take on, I think, the city's. Okay. Okay. That's something we're pretty sure we can win.
Pretty sure Jimmy's got that.
Okay.
Who are we playing the drugs on?
It's a secret.
I'm up with the speed car too.
Just a reminder to select board members and any JPs justices of the peace, not you, John Paul. Any JPs who are listening in, there is a Board of Civil Authority meeting tomorrow at 2:00. We're all members of it, and Kari is working really hard to get a quorum. So please, if you possibly can at 2, either Zoom in or come on over. Scholarships. The town of Rutland gave out 7 scholarships, and I went around to high school graduations and haven't done one of those in a while. West Rutland, MSJ, and Rutland High School. Great group of kids, very proud of the graduates of Rutland Town School, and now we're seeing them move on into careers. So I wish them all well. Okay. Questions from the floor, public comments. We do have a brief, I looked right at you and I said the word brief, appearance, but I say that to everyone. Dave Walk would like to address us, and then I think you're here to find out what some of the issues are that the select board is confronting. So if you'd like to come up and visit
Sure.
for a minute. By the way, we often have candidates come through. So if you know someone or someone approaches you and says, hey, can I come talk to the select board some evening? The answer is yes. It's usually about 5 minutes. They're welcome to then stay and listen to what's going on. And if you could let either Bill or me know in advance, it just makes the meeting flow smoother. So you're on.
Thank you. I'm Dave Walk. I know all of you. We were in school together, weren't we? Sort of. And I'm also a Rutland Town voter, taxpayer. Very happily so. We love the way the town is run. And as I went out the door, my wife said, tell them that we really need a dog park at Northwood. So I did that, okay? And I said, well, if you suggest it, you're going to have to do it. That's the way it goes.
Pretty much.
But the minutes reflects.
Committee members.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
You would. At any rate, I'm an independent candidate for Senate. I hope to return there 38 years after I was elected the first time. And the reason I'm here is not to give a speech, but to listen and learn. And I'm making my way across the county to talk with select boards and town managers and the folks in Rutland City as well. And my purpose is this. I know a little bit about the judiciary and maybe a little bit less about education over the years, but there's a lot that I don't know in the intervening 38 years since I served in the Senate. So basically, I'm here to listen and learn, no speech. The question is, and it's not just for you, it's for the folks in the audience. If you were in the Senate, what would be the first thing you would do? What needs to change legislatively? And the floor is open.
Wait. I mean, you probably know as well as we deal with it. I mean, statewide, we're facing all of these huge issues with part-time legislature and a small population that's aging.
Yeah.
So I had the magic wand. I would gladly tell you that. I mean, I think, you know, locally in the town, of course, the education cost that fluctuates year to year dramatically is what gives voters the most heartburn, because we don't really have control over what our budget is going to look like, kind of regardless of what our school board does. They can hold a level on things specific to formula, and so I don't know what the current reform package impact will be on that. That's, I think, been the biggest issue for us in recent years, other than finding and hiring police officers.
Aaron?
So solutions too. I mean, the issues are out there. We can all agree on taxes and public safety and all the other issues, but what needs to change in state law? I should have said it that way.
I understood the question, but I don't know the answer.
My concern.
Yeah.
Is hiring a police force, because we don't always back our police. You know, they do their due diligence, and then they get sued or they get in trouble. And personally, I think it's wrong. You know, I talked to our former chief. I said, if you had it to do it again, would you do it again? No. Talked to Nick Ruggiero, who Nick was the head of Vermont State Police. He's a cousin. Everyone is not. It was. And Nick said,
Former student of mine, though.
Nick was, or the other
No.
one, the other one, yeah. But that's my concern is that I don't feel that they're given the backing. So therefore you don't have people applying. Everybody's short-staffed with police officers. I think that has to change.
Are you talking about catch and release?
Yeah. Yeah. So, sure.
I really think we need to work on consolidating these school districts. I don't know if you do it by county or really if you look nationwide, there's school districts. There's school districts in this country that have more students than the entire state of Vermont. So maybe you just do away with school districts and you move that to a state level. Because essentially what it is, you got too many chiefs and not enough Indians, and you're paying out all this money for all these superintendents that aren't educating children, and it's costing a lot of money. And that's where you see a lot of the headache and a lot of the expense in our school systems are to all these administrative positions that aren't teaching people. So I think, definitely how to consolidate those school districts, and also how to get our schools back our schools need to come back into control of our town, of the townspeople. Because right now, I mean, our town school, it says Rutland Town on the front, but it might as well say state of Vermont on it because we have no control over it at all. So really the state kind of has to start getting out of our schools and let us teach our children. And the other thing is this new Act 250 reform that's coming through, they said it was to make development easier, and they did nothing but make it more difficult. And if we want to get the state out of the hole that it's in, we're going to have to build some things and get some housing and get some industry into the state, because we can't survive off skiing. We can't be a tourist state. That only brings in minimum wage jobs. You got all your waitresses, and I mean, they can make good money, but it's still not steady professional income like General Electric or Omnia or IBM. So the state really has to find a way to start pivoting from this tourist economy more towards a little bit more of an industrial economy to hold a base. And the tourism's great, but you need base income to the state. You essentially need a GDP. You need to produce something in order to have good jobs here. So the state's really got to figure out how to move some of that regulation around and, get it done. But good luck to you.
Well, I hear there's both issues everywhere. We've got to solve both. I can tell you that I was the governor's appointee on the school district, the redistricting task force last summer. At the first meeting, I talked about Hawaii, which is one school district, lower costs, better test scores. And for the same reason you mentioned, combining sort of the back office functions and saving a lot of money in administration. And wasn't very popular. And our job was to come up with maps. And there was only one map that was suggested, and that was a map that was proposed by Senator Scott Beck, who was a Republican majority leader in the Senate, and myself. We were voted down 9-2. And the map was to organize around the career tech ed centers, but preserve school choice in the 90 plus towns that have it, including this town, Mendon and Chittenden. And we were very careful. We spent about 200 hours on it statewide, talking with superintendents and school boards. We preserved school choice, we cut costs, and we were the only two who voted for it. And then the task force didn't recommend any maps, which the governor rightfully wasn't pleased about. And because, you know, so many small towns do not want to give up their schools. We have some high schools that are 40 or 50 students in Vermont. So that's going to be a tough one. And you have to have the courage to do the right thing there.
Yeah, I mean, these small schools, like, you know, the town of Shrewsbury, you know, the town of Benson, if you want your school and you want your small school, you pay for it. There's no reason why taxpayers in the town of Rutland should have to pay to keep the Benson Town School open. If you want your kids educated in that small school, you vote for your school budget and you pay for it.
When the foundation formula comes into play in 2 or 3 years, it's going to force towns to collaborate because of the way the money will be distributed. And there is an economy of scale. We know that in business, and we know that in all walks of life. So I think that'll happen sort of organically at the local level.
I'll add housing and more flexibility in some of the money that's been freed up, so that smaller projects and not always larger developers get a chance to get at the pot of money. Grants generally from state agencies to everyone from highway to water sewer to rec. Let's loosen up some of that state money and let us apply and get some money down to the municipalities. And then the great north-south divide.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes, and I have an office in Montpelier that I go to occasionally. There's the northern part of the state is clueless about the southern part, I feel sometimes. So a very strong voice for what is going on down here and advocacy for, we've lost colleges, we've lost institutions here, and we've seen things go up to Chittenden County. It's our turn.
Brady, back to the grants. Can you be more specific about which grants have been less accessible now than in the past?
Oh, well, state highway aid, we're always looking for that. Culvert replacement grants. Now that's a hot topic, but
Just to mention that.
yeah.
The short structures grant for beach grants.
Yeah.
So that 100 to 200 caps at 200,000. And these projects have been coming back at 350 to 500 consistently.
What's the name of that program again?
That's the
Short structures.
yeah, it's
Structures grant.
it's structures grant.
It's a short culvert, right? Or that's how they explained
It's
it.
not a bridge.
It's not a bridge, it's a culvert. That's one that directly could get worked on
Yeah.
relatively soon.
We looked into a few years back, some state forgivable loans that were made available, we thought, for addressing the 3-acre rule, helping towns, help local businesses address water runoff issues, that thing. And we were really excited about it because we thought we could help local businesses. And along with that was grant money available for municipalities. And we were going to get a grant and study our various water districts in the town and figure out what we could do to put the system together better or contract with other municipalities. And suddenly those monies weren't there anymore. I don't know where they went to. I think they got scooped up and went in an entirely different direction, but that was something that would have helped locally.
Love to have a list of those from the staff here.
Okay.
Focusing on that.
Like specifically in town, we have a lot of fire districts that
Yes.
either don't have potable water or their potable water is going to be unclassified at some point and not be potable. And we're trying to find money to hook them to a municipal water system. But, you know, you're talking 5 to 15 million, depending on how extravagant we can go. And there's really no grant funding out there for any of that.
That ties into development and housing.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of housing, obviously for 40 years, I've been working with the homeless and the disenfranchised. And the mission operates with absolutely no money from the state, no money from the feds. But we do a good job. And all of these, I'm sorry, but all of these agencies that have their parties together, go up on the mountain, have big dinners and stuff. That's no chump change. And I don't think nonprofits should be using money to take the whole crew, maybe 120 people out to dinner up on the mountain when we need the money down here for the people that are really in need. We have an awful lot of veterans who served their time, but they're damaged goods. And I mean, we started the first veteran shelter in this country was at the Open Door Mission.
Was the mission ineligible for state money?
No, except that we have to do what they want us to do with that money. And some of it to me does not feel like, I mean, if I'm giving to an agency, and I'm sure the rest of you want to know that money's going for food, shelter, clothing, and helping them find jobs. That's what we're tasked to do. So, when Tony Morgan ran that department, it ran well. I can't say it's ran well enough.
Which department are you?
Well, it just deals with the homeless and the poor, and it's not the same anymore.
Under the Agency of Human Services.
Correct.
Yeah, we had quite a time with the Cortina and housing the homeless here. The people came down, the homeless came down, but the services did not. Nor did some of the housing that was needed. So we're still dealing with that. But Matt's been trying really hard to get a word in. So I'll let him do the wrap up.
Adding to the list of big issues, obviously the cost and access to healthcare.
Yeah.
And that goes hand in hand with both the education budget and town budget. I mean, I'm not sure there was sufficient recognition in this round of education reform and that discussion of the fact that, our school budgets are in large measure an insurance program, people, and the amount that cost is driving increase in these budgets. And we can't really scratch the surface of it here today, or I think there's a limited amount we can even do on the state level to address it. But, that's something that's a huge burden for the town when we're doing budgets every year, the inflation in that. And then even just having actually being able to find a doctor in the state is ridiculous. And so, not sure that the Green on Care Board has been very effective. Maybe making some progress in getting UVM to make some changes here, but I suspect part of the answer may lie in, you can't have every hospital try to be all things to all people. I think there's probably going to be some specialization in order to bring down costs. Similar to school problem. Got to have the courage.
I think one quick thing the state could do to help health insurance is to open it up so we can buy from more insurance companies. You can only buy from two, and there's more than 2 health insurance companies in this country, and you can only buy from 2. So the state created a monopoly. They can charge what they want.
And it's still going bankrupt. So,
Yeah. So
so that marketplace.
Okay, we should get on to other business. Thank you, Dave.
Exactly what I was hoping. But when you think about it, and you have some solutions or statutory changes, I'm all ears.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a call because I have a suggestion. The little houses that people rent, and if they kept the rent up for 3 years, they could buy that little house. And you've eliminated families not having something. When somebody owns something, they have a greater feeling towards success, and that, oh my God, I'm the first person in my family to ever own a house. And I think it can be done.
You mind sharing email address?
Oh. I think I sent it on to you, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, we're going to go down to action item A, board to meet with Tom Doty from GE Aerospace about the sewer allocation follow-up. And in our packet is a bunch of math. So come on up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share the information with the board. So, I'll start and kind of walk through the letter that I've submitted in the 4 sections, but before I even get into that, I'll just explain our setup at GE is a little more complicated than most. You know, we're like a normal house or any household with a municipality, municipal meter, water meter. So we have water that enters our plant and it flows through a meter. All the water that comes through our plant goes through that meter. From there, it splits into 3 different categories in our plant. So one of them is domestic use. That's toilets, sinks, showers, everything that you think of in a, you know, in a normal house or a restaurant. And that goes straight out our drain, unmetered, and goes into our sewer system, into the collection system that flows through your pipes on the way to the Rutland City treatment plant. The second category, so we have the domestic category. The second category is what we call our process water. So that comes into the plant and that goes through different manufacturing processes where we use that water. Anywhere where it goes through a manufacturing process, it goes through we have an industrial wastewater pretreatment plant. So at that pretreatment plant, we treat that water. We remove any metals that are in the water. We have to meet all the stipulations of the state permit. Excuse me, we have a permit from the state that requires that we meet certain effluent characteristics. One of those is the amount of flow that is allowed to leave our plant. So we have a flow meter on that effluent from our process water. So we know how much water is leaving that plant and going into goes into the collection system, combines with the sanitary domestic flow that I talked about before. And that's what goes through your folks' pipes on the way to Rutland City. The third category, which makes things confusing, is what we call our deduct lines. And so those are water sources that flow to things, primarily our cooling towers. And so they flow to these cooling towers, which I'll explain what those are in a second, large pieces of equipment that are physically not connected to any drain that goes to a wastewater system at all. It essentially is water that comes into the plant that we buy from the city. That water evaporates. Either evaporates or in some cases, any runoff that's on the roof. All of these are sources that are used on the roof, collects in roof drains, and then drains out to our stormwater system, which collects in a basin that's out behind our facility. So we have the water that comes into our plant. That splits into 3 different categories. Domestic wastewater, which is toilets, sinks, and whatnot. Process wastewater. Both of those are what go through our plant and then end up back into the collection system, flow through your folks' pipes, and then into the Rutland City treatment plant. The third, the deduct line, does not go through our pipes. That is just comes into our plant and either evaporates or stays on our site. So they're called deduct lines because those are deducted from the sewer bill that we get from Rutland City and from what you folks see from our water meter usage. So keeping that in mind, when we were first contacted by Mr. Sweet, and thank you, Bill, for reaching out to us and giving us an opportunity here to talk about this. So we set about trying to figure out how our usage could be so high and if that water was actually making its way through the pipes back through to Rutland City.
What was the number in our letter?
200 and got it here.
297,000.
Not that high. It's 220. It's in the letter here. Sorry. In a second. Yeah, I want to say 223,000 thereabouts.
And that was
233.
Looking at page.
What section?
okay.
This is middle paragraph.
Yes, there you go. Exactly. Allocation based on metered usage of 233,880 gallons.
And what was your Was that your allocation or was that what?
That exceeded the allocation that the town has provided us to be able to, for maximum value to flow through your pipes.
Okay, and what was the actual allocation?
The allocation of.
Because I'm gonna do the math.
98,000 less. Based on
I believe 177,000.
Okay, 98,000 is what we're looking to make up. Okay,
So, 98,000, yes. Now, the 98,000 was what we had estimated for usage. That is not what we estimated is below what the allocation is. And I don't know if I referenced that in this letter, and I should have. Bill, do you know what the allocation is? Okay.
Estimated. Okay,
So in essence, the difference that we're looking at, it was about 70 to 80,000 gallons a day that we were trying to find.
okay,
That's a lot of water.
Yeah.
If that was a leak in our facility, it would be pretty evident that we would have a leak and we would see that water. Bill and I talked back and forth, and if it was, a couple of running toilets, leaky toilets or whatnot, again, our facility, we have a cleaning service that cleans our facility 3 shifts a day. Our maintenance crew is on to, our workforce would let us know if we had a toilet that ran. We have tankless toilets. They're the type that, that are plumbed in and basically a spring return on the valve. So it didn't feel like it was coming from our domestic use. If it was coming from our process use, we would have known that because we would have seen that as we meter what leaves our wastewater, our pre-treatment wastewater plant. All of that process water goes through that plant. We send those reports. I send those to Bill every month, and on the 15th, by the 15th of the following month, and we have the flow from every single day. It's on there, and that flow meter is required by the state to be calibrated weekly. So we ensure we're confident in that flow number that leaves the plant. So that left us looking at water that must be unaccounted for somewhere that we're using. And so what we determined, and it took some investigation to find this, but what we determined, and that's kind of what I talk about here in section 1, is our cooling towers. So in the summer, our cooling towers are large evaporative that basically look like giant radiators, and they have water that runs down essentially a bunch of metal fins that as that water evaporates, there's a closed loop of cooling liquid that goes back to the plant, picks up heat, comes back up, and as it's exposed to those fins, that cool air, as that water evaporates, cools that liquid, and then that goes back down into our plant and cools our processes. So the liquid that goes in a closed loop goes down to the plant, essentially takes the heat from the plant, warms up, goes up to our cooling towers, discharges that heat through evaporating the water that's in those cooling towers, and then gets cooled off and goes back down through. So the cooling towers are large sources of water, and that's what are on those deduct lines. Those provide water to those giant radiators on the roof, let that water go down through, and that evaporation process is what cools that. What we determined is that, and it had become kind of normal practice, is that we have 2 3/4-inch lines. Those are pretty significant sized water lines. The water line that you have in your house that feeds things is 1/2-inch lines. So these are 2 3/4-inch lines, which is quite a bit bigger than that, and a 1/2-inch line. All that were dedicated, we plumbed them to the roof. All they were doing is running sprinklers that were spraying on our cooling towers just to basically to try to make them a little more efficient. As soon as it starts to get warm out, we needed more cooling capacity. This is a way to get a little more efficiency or lack of efficiency from water use perspective, but a little more cooling out of our cooling towers. So those lines, those 2 3/4-inch lines, that's the diameter lines, 2 3/4-inch diameter lines and 1 1/2-inch line combined, if that's what the table is at the top of page 2, combined for about 50 gallons a minute of water use. And that adds up to about 72,000 gallons a day. So that's a lot of water. That essentially became that's what we've identified as our, call it a smoking gun, right? So that water usage is being used on the roof. Where it flows down to is physically not connected to the sewer system. So that water goes up on the roof, it's used on the cooling tower, and either evaporates or anything that's left over that sprays on the roof goes to our stormwater system and our basin out back. Those lines were not plumbed downstream of those meters that are used to subtract usage. So the way that they were plumbed into the plant, it looks as though the plant is using that water in a source that ends up flowing back to the town, through the town and to the city. And so simply replumbing those lines to be on what we call a deduct water line, to be downstream of one of the meters that deducts usage. So basically to be able to account for that usage properly and deduct that from our usage makes the most sense. That's where those should be connected. We've already validated this with Rutland City, and they're fully on board with this as well. So essentially we were just plugged in the wrong place where our lines that fed these cooling towers, this supplemental water to the cooling towers, where that was being sourced from. So the corrective action that we're taking is to replumb those lines, to connect those, not to be fed from one of our main process water lines, but instead to be fed from a deduct line. So the same amount of water will come into the plant, but the amount that we subtract as the deduct line will be larger because we'll be pulling off of that deduct line. In addition to that, from a cooling tower perspective, there are more efficient ways of doing the same thing that those sprinklers do. And so what we have already installed is called an adiabatic chiller. So that is essentially its own smaller chiller that operates on its own closed loop system that essentially does the same thing that those sprinklers are doing, but it's on a closed loop system. It's not water that's used once and then goes away. It's water that's collected and reused as chilled water. That system, and I talk about that in here, that system's already been installed. And when I wrote this letter, the deduct meter had not been installed yet, but that has since been installed. We validated that with the Rutland City folks. And so there's a deduct meter on that, which will subtract that usage. Having that adiabatic chiller will vastly reduce the amount that we use those, supplemental lines, the 2 3/4 inch lines and the 1 1/2 inch line. We will still have those plumbed up there. Really, as much for anything else, it's just to clean the coils off every once in a while, just to have a hose up there. But again, we'll plumb those into that same deduct line so that we're not misaccounting for that. Basically, we're properly accounting for that to be deducted. That's really the biggest source that we found, and it's a significant amount of water. I will point out, I talk about a couple of other things in here. I talk about our scrubbers. What scrubbers are is systems that basically control the air. They remove any fumes of either acid or alkaline before the air is discharged. It's again permitted by the state. That water, there's a fair amount of water that evaporates through those. Unfortunately, we don't really have a way to meter that because the discharge, the water that comes in, some of it evaporates, some of it overflows and goes to our process wastewater. I only point that out because there's likely some evaporation that occurs there, but there isn't a way to easily capture that. So we sort of left that to the side. The next thing that I talk about is our lime pump seal flush water. So quick lesson on how pumps work. So a pump, in order to seal where the rotating parts of the pump are and the fixed parts of the pump, there has to be a seal in there for where that shaft rotates. Otherwise, that's where water would leak out of. Old pumps used to have packing that was like jute that was packed in place, and that was required to be wet as well. But newer mechanical seals are a lot easier to maintain. They're a lot more consistent. The drawback to them is that they use a little bit more water. What we had done, and so the lime pumps are in our wastewater pretreatment plant that I talked about. What we had done is plumb in a city line to that seal flush water, and then we put more water in than that pump needed, and then the discharge, the drain that comes out the other side of that seal, we just put into our wastewater plant. And it wasn't a lot of flow. It's about 2 gallons a minute. It's like if you leave your sink maybe 3/4 of the way on. That ran 24/7, 365. So what we did is instead of having that constantly going to drain, we did another closed loop system. So we isolated a makeup tank that runs water through that seal flush and then goes back to the same tank, circulates around. That we implemented towards the end of last year. That's going to save us a few thousand gallons a day as well. So that really was what we identified as the sources of where this discrepancy was from a water perspective. And I'll try to go a little quicker through the rest of this. I do just want to make sure that it's understandable. There's a lot kind of thrown at everybody here. So the next section that we looked at was to calculate what our sewer discharge was. So that's how much water we estimate is leaving the plant and actually going through the pipes, not looking at the metered water that's coming in, not basing it on that, but basing it on two things. So I talked at the beginning, our metered flow comes in, it goes to one of three places. It goes to our process or domestic water, toilets and sinks. It goes to our process water, any manufacturing process that we have. And then the third is up on the roof, and that does not leave our facility. So looking at the first two, just the domestic usage and the process water usage. The process water usage is easy. Again, I mentioned before that I send those reports to the town and the city every month. So I was able to go back through for the month of 2025. That's the table that you see in the bottom of the second page. And that's our average daily flow through our process wastewater plant. The numbers bounce around a little bit, but by and large, it's about 100,000 gallons a day that leaves there. So take that 100,000 gallons a day, that's what's leaving our process. That's our process wastewater usage. The only other source of water that can leave our plant is our domestic usage. So we don't have a meter on every single toilet. So what I did was to go to the state's wastewater design rules. I was a consultant for 15 years before I started at GE. I did some work with the town on some projects here as well. But in essence, I took what the state estimates for usage. That's what they tell you if you're designing a new factory. Here's how much water you should assume is used if you have, so that there's rules for bowling alleys, there's rules for restaurants. So it went through the table, and what fits GE most specifically is for a factory. And if we have showers in the facility, and we do have showers in the facility, they're not commonly utilized, but for a factory that has showers, you assume the water usage is 20 gallons per day per person. It says 20 gallons per day per person per shift, but we operate on 3 shifts. So I just took the total number of employees that we have and multiplied it by 20 gallons. That gives us an estimated usage per day of, just for toilets and sinks, of about a little over 20,000, call it 22,000 gallons per day. So we take that 22,000 and we add it to what our wastewater plant had leaving, which was 100,000. 100 plus 20 is 120,000. The difference between 120 and 220 is obviously a big number. That's where the difference comes into probably being used on the roof through those sprinklers and not being accounted for in what leaves the plant, because those numbers are so much different. So what I estimated, I took the 102,000 gallons average usage plus that 22,000 gallons. And then I said, you know what, let's be extra conservative. So I just added 10% to that entire number just to bump us up a little bit more. And that lands at 136,000 gallons per day. So from our calculations, that's how much makes sense that was actually leaving our plant. Now, the rest of it was being metered as though it was leaving the plant, but it was actually being used on the roof. It just wasn't plumbed properly, so it wasn't coming out of the deduct line. It wasn't being subtracted off of that main use. If anybody has any questions at all, please interrupt.
This is your material question.
Yeah.
Those sprinklers that you're talking about,
Yes.
were those just added in the last year?
They were, I think, 2 of the 3 lines were added in the last year. We see usage go up every year in the summer and come down in the winter, which also correlates with using it on the roof. But those, I believe that the second 3/4 inch line and the other 1/2 inch line were added in the last year. I will also say that I think as our processes, as we continue to increase our manufacturing in the plant, business has been good for GE and strong, and our output increases. That increases our cooling requirements. So I think even where the line was there before, we weren't using the sprinkler as much because we didn't need as much cooling capacity. As our production increases, as our number of employees increase, and our employees on off shifts, and our production goes up across all 3 shifts. As that happens, we need more cooling capacity, and if the cooling tower is not keeping up, I think those lines also get left on more frequently.
So, the combination of both. There was a line there. We added additional lines. We also use those lines more frequently.
Did you
Sorry.
run your calculations by the city?
We did, we went through, I didn't submit this to them. I'd be happy to submit this to them, but we did talk with them. Travis is the meter reader that works with us. I can't remember his last name. But he, completely on board with understanding that they basically won't allow or permit us to install a deduct water line unless they physically go and inspect and make sure that we're, not going in the other direction and installing deduct meters where we shouldn't, and then using that water
Yes.
in the plant otherwise. So all of those meters those are installed and inspected by the city. So that is all part of what they do. And that process is that's under review by them. The third section that I talked about, and we're still working on getting this dialed. I talked about anticipate completing calibration by July 1st. So that is, we said, okay, all of this is to determine how much water is leaving the plant and going through the sewer pipes, right? So we said, let's put a meter in the last manhole on our property that is downstream of where everything comes together and actually measure how much is leaving. That'll give us a great representation of how much leaves the property. It's been a little bit more of an effort than we expected. We actually started to do this. The installation was just completed recently, but we're still working to calibrate. There was previously, before my time at GE, there was the same type of meter there, and we used to meter that flow frequently. We anticipated that the electrical that meter had since been removed, the old one. We had anticipated that the electrical that was run to that manhole, we'd be able to reuse that, or at least reuse the conduit. We couldn't. So it ended up turning into a bit more of a project than we anticipated. I only bring that up just to let everybody know that, we do take that seriously. That was not a small investment on GE's behalf to go and install that water meter. And I did send to Bill a couple of pictures of after the trench had been dug for the electrical conduit. And so we've got that in. We're still working on getting the readings to kind of balance out. They were sort of all over the place, and we're still working with it's John Chaplin. You guys probably work with him too for some of your instrumentation stuff. So we will have that. That will be a good source of data for us as well. Now I know that the town ordinance is not written around metered data on the effluent that's leaving. It's written around what the metered water usage is, and I understand that. But this will be a good truth check and a way for us to understand that, those numbers should correlate pretty closely. If they don't, I think we can continue to do some research or find things in the future. I'm confident that what we have identified here is exactly what the issue was. And then the fourth section that I talked about is really just talking about that adiabatic chiller that I mentioned. So that largely replaces what we were doing with those 2 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch lines. That adiabatic chiller is going to be able to cool those cooling towers, give them a little more efficiency, a little more cooling capacity, essentially, in a closed loop system without water use, without as much water use anyway. And it is installed on a line that is on a deduct water line. So it'll be accounted for properly. The last thing I'll mention in that section 4 is just our metered water use. So as soon as we were made aware of the situation, starting on March 6th, we started taking our own water meter readings. So that's water coming into the plant, right at the head of the plant. That's where, before it splits to all 3 of those uses that I talked about before, that's all the water that we get coming into the plant. So from March 6th until May 15th, and it only stopped on May 15th because we had the data that I needed to get to submit this. We've continued to track that data. Over that time, the total water use coming into the plant was 120,000 gallons a day. And that, over the course of a couple of months, We did validate that number with the city as well. Tyler did come out a couple of times beyond their normal meter reads to help us with this situation and figure out where our deduct meters should go as well. And so essentially what that's telling us is that if we don't have we don't have anywhere near 230,000 gallons of water a day coming into the plant, we certainly can't have that much leaving the plant. So the metered usage over that time period is 120,000 gallons a day, well below what the allocation is from the town, and more in line with what the estimate was that we sort of calculated based on our metered flow leaving our wastewater facility and then the domestic use. So is that
Surprises me
surprises you
because this is water coming in.
Mhm.
Why was the city up so high with the 200 and,
in 2025?
yeah,
So part of that is because, so those cooling towers, when
Yeah.
we need that cooling capacity is in the warmer months. This metered usage
Oh,
was from March to May,
March.
so
Okay, gotcha.
we aren't as warm then. We still have processes in the plant that require cooling, but not to the extent that it happens in
Okay,
the summer.
so our water sewer, well, I'm looking partially at Kurt because he knows some of this stuff, but also at Bill.
Yep.
We've looked at these numbers as well. You're the one who wrote that letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the calculations for last year were like I said, 233 gallons a day, which was just way over what they normally done. They have 171,000 gallon a day allocation. That's what they've had.
Okay,
And his numbers of 120 bring it back to essentially what they historically have been. So this looks good to me. And Tom and I talked several times in the past few months about this. So it seems that was a plumbing issue that they've corrected. So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
The 171 allocation, that's water or sewer?
it's their sewer
The
allocation,
sewer allocation, okay.
but it's a calculation of their water usage. So we
Yeah.
take their consumed cubic feet and we do some calculations to it and we come up with their gallons per day.
Okay. Now I know Kurt probably has questions.
I'm satisfied.
Okay.
That all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a little, I appreciate, I'm glad everybody understand it's a little convoluted. It's harder, you think of a water meter and you have meters, the water that comes into your house. At everybody's municipality, your sewer rates are based on your water usage, which is your water meter. But in our plant, we have those deduct lines that starts to make that tally a little
And in
more.
your home, somebody fills up the swimming pool.
Exactly. Thayer's coming to our house next week, so.
Any questions? And then a question of you, what is it you would like to see us do at this point?
Well, I guess it's a request for a reconsideration of the reallocation, of the requirement for reallocation. I think that I'm very confident. Like I said, I was an engineer for 15 years before I joined GE, and that background has kind of lent well to this type of project for me. And I'm confident that we found what it was. If we had that much water, if we're losing 70 or 80,000 gallons of water a day in the plant and it wasn't going through that and it wasn't going to our wastewater plant, we'd talk about swimming pools. We'd have swimming pools all over in GE. It'd be a lot of water on the floor. And we did talk to the city at length as well, because in 2025, they changed the meters. They updated the meters to digital meters. And we thought, geez, was there some discrepancy with what we've got from a meter perspective? And so that was when we really started tracking every couple of weeks, taking meter reads. We're doing it actually even more closely. We're following it every couple of days now. But we've got confidence in the meters. So it was like, okay, it's not the meter, not an actual leak in the plant. We haven't found that. Every toilet in the plant would have to be leaking at the same time to be that much water. So got to be coming from somewhere else. And then we identified these lines that were just not plumbed correctly to the deduct lines. And so I thought it really has to be it.
There's no such thing as a former engineer, is there?
Like a former lawyer.
My coworkers and my wife would agree with you. There's a certain linear track to thinking that,
I think
yeah.
engineers are going to die and.
He's my boss, but it's right.
Do we need any more information? Are we
I don't think so.
in line for a motion?
So yeah, essentially it would be like postponing the redetermination of your allocation based upon the evidence, and we'll review it again in January.
January 2027. Bill, no, you're gonna put that in the minutes. What you said. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to postpone the allocation. Increase is actually what it was. And subject to monitoring as described here, and we'll review everything in January 2027. Okay. Any questions? Any other further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
this. I'm sort of geeky about this stuff. I really like factories and how they work.
We'd love to show everybody around if you ever want to stop by. I'm also our security leader, so I can sneak you in pretty easily. I can get everybody badges and we'd
Actually,
be
I've
happy
been
to show
down
you
there.
around.
Board of Civil Authority goes down occasionally for tax
Oh, yeah.
purposes, so I've been in. It's pretty fascinating.
It is.
So.
Yeah.
It really is. We do some amazing things there. It's kind of secretive behind those four walls and it's technology that's definitely world class.
Yes.
We appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you.
for being here. Okay. And I think, is there anyone else here on anything else? Or shall we just hop right into the agenda? I don't see anyone. Okay, I think everybody else is on the agenda. So Ted Washburn, Town Police Chief. Good evening.
Good evening. Very quick night for me.
What did you say?
Very quick night for me.
Quick night.
Quick night.
Okay,
Eighth grade graduation last week. That went very well.
okay, very good.
Today was the last day of school. Very well.
Mhm.
We have interviews for 3 candidates, or 3 applicants next week.
Okay.
And then I got an email today from Commander Whitehead of the City PD, August 4th. It's a Tuesday, 4 to 7 p.m. National Night Out at the fairgrounds. So I put that in the out there. You see,
And do we usually help with that?
we are usually,
Okay,
they usually
good.
do a cruiser competition. So
Is that something we can win at?
this year they're adding using the sirens during the demonstration. So they're the only department with howlers in the area.
There you go.
So
Good.
I think it's just the Cortina funds part
Okay.
of the minutes, and that's it for me.
Hey, we do have on our desk. I'm assuming you did it or Kari did it or Kari gave you the numbers somewhere, but beginning July 1st last year, 2025, we had 231,000 and some change in the Cortina fund. We did buy the new Tahoe at 73,400. We got a cruiser radio for 2465. We got the radio for the new Tahoe at 2726, leaving us with 152,428.10 in the Cortina fund as of right now. And I don't think we've allocated anything else out of that.
So it says new Tahoe, but that was the 2020 model year 24 Tahoe we purchased beginning of last fiscal year. It is not the Tahoe that is currently being built.
Okay,
And we had talked about that because this number was supposed to be,
okay.
yeah.
So
So
the new Tahoe, which
Yeah.
is what model year?
26.
And when is that?
So they were supposed to check with production last Friday because they told me May. And I said, well, we did this last year where you told me May, and I don't think we picked it up until August. But they don't bill us for 30 days after we take it to make sure that any bugs or kinks are worked out for making payment.
And what's the contract price of the new Tahoe?
It was, I don't have the quote in front of me. It was, I think, $5,000 over, I think it was around 78,000. It's about $5,000 more for the car this fiscal year.
And by the time we geared it up, it was at 80.
Yeah, it was more, it was expensive.
Okay,
There's no doubt about it.
and that bill is not gonna come in between now and the end of the fiscal year.
We spent $2,000 on patrols.
Correct. There was, I think,
Oh,
6,600.
that's
So,
Yeah. Couple of few.
That was the holiday patrols.
correct.
Which would, let's see.
So we're down to.
What did you get from?
I got a 148, 428. If you just take straight 6,600 off for patrols, is that what you were doing?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I started with 152. I
Yeah.
subtracted 80 grand and then another 6,600.
well, we're not gonna use the 80 grand until after the cruiser comes in. So I was just
Yeah,
looking
I was
at,
just trying to reconcile with the number that I had in my head with how much we have.
okay, so,
I thought we had discussed when it was budget time, we had around 60 to 50 left because we were factoring in the new Tahoe.
so we have 58 and we take 80, we're still gonna have about 160
So,
or so, about 60 or 70 left.
so the issue becomes much. So we voted to spend on these things, but then we have to look at our actual police fund budget. Which we are. By design, we're overspent by about $44,000, not quite to the end. So we don't necessarily, though, want to say that we're going to use this much because that just has the effect of creating surplus in the police fund budget. You want to. So it's the same conversation we had a year ago.
Yep.
You may have deja vu.
Yep, I see what you're saying.
So I think even though we had to debate it afterwards, Kurt had a very well worded motion last year, which involved
Sure he remembers.
no actual numbers, which was something to the effect of we want to allocate sufficient Cortina funds to balance police budget and carry over the rest.
See if I
Carry forward the rest of the balance of the Cortina fund for the coming fiscal year as a dedicated fund.
Sounds like a
So I
pretty-
was gonna say, is that what I said?
Yeah.
If somebody seconds it, we can debate and amend it.
Yeah, no, I'd second it then. I was just gonna see if I could pull up the old minutes online.
Karen's joined us, so maybe she'll want to wait.
Thank you.
Cause if it worked last year, we might as well do it again this year.
After action, I didn't know what was meant by it, but flexible enough to.
Yeah,
show the
yeah,
incentive as well.
loose is all right, yeah.
So it sounds like the motion is to allocate additional Cortina funds to balance the police budget at the end of the fiscal year. And then, that's two parts, and then the rest of it is to carry over the remaining Cortina funds as a separate fund, beginning in the next fiscal year.
So. There's a second, then I'll comment on it further. If not,
It's-
somebody else.
Oh,
will give it a shot.
I say, was there part two? I was
Yeah.
second part two.
Okay,
I'm still trying to find what I said last year.
So the idea here again would be that even though we have said, you know, we can fund these various items. $78,000 or so. We may not have to use that, but actually, in fact, more than that, we include patrol. So we've authorized all these expenditures
Right.
out of Cortina fund, but because we may have savings elsewhere in the budget, vacancy savings and so forth. We may not have to actually use that much out of Cortina. If we don't have to, then we don't want to.
Right.
We want to preserve it. Kari, for listening. Does that make sense to you? Or do you have any questions or suggestions?
Okay. All right, so we have a motion. I think that it worked pretty well last year. And just in case, well, we do have one more meeting before the end of the fiscal year if we need to correct anything. But this sounds fine to me. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the two-part motion concerning use of Cortina funds, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. So thank you.
By the time you get to the next meeting, you'll know exactly what that number is. Since it's the end of this.
Well, maybe what I don't know what happens with interest in that. I've never been really clear, but there could be interest.
I'm saying what the overage will be in the budget.
Oh, what the overage is will be closer. Yeah, but that will be the last. This is the last authorizing payments out of it, so we should be pretty close. But, you know, Kari, past practice, until we actually, she sits down with the auditor and then the finance committee takes a look. I mean, that's still, numbers are not totally set in cement until go through that process at the end.
Conversation last year was almost the same. So they're talking about waiting for a new cruiser and the motion to carry over the balance.
Yeah,
There it is. Here we are.
excellent, excellent.
Glad so.
And we thought we were making progress here. Okay. Anything else for our town police chief? Let me ask while you're here. Action item B is the board to review the draft Walmart Act 250 Municipal Impact Questionnaire. And since the police department was considerable part of that, let's take that up now. I notice Attorney Greg is on the phone, so we don't want to keep him here too long. He needs to go out and mow his lawn.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Bill has, it's in your packet and I have the an original in front of me. I reverted to lawyer stuff, and so I put quite a bit as the 2-page agenda on the end. Is there anything that any select board member sees that isn't what we discussed or talked about? And then same question for Mr. Greg.
Madam Chair, I relied upon the minutes, the unofficial minutes, so I haven't looked at what you're looking at. So I trust that it will have what we discussed. I don't have it in front of me. I apologize.
Okay. I think Bill sent you something that was pretty close.
Yeah, he had the draft from the draft. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And
I did
we
review
say-
that. I did
Okay.
review that draft. Yes.
Okay. And there was a question, but it wasn't about anything of the other municipal
It was the
services.
solid waste disposal.
Yeah.
That we could answer, we don't provide the service because we don't do curbside pickup.
Commercial. Right. There will the property owner and tenants arrange for solid waste disposal.
So it says, does the municipality have the capacity to provide solid waste disposal? Do we answer that yes, or do we say municipality does not provide the service, or?
It technically does not provide the service.
Yeah.
So if you want, we can change that for the first page, and then
where it says where it says, please indicate who provides it. We could just add it in that, we see it, for that specifically, you can say applicant has contracted for private service, and then see attached for the remainder of it.
All right, you know what? Because I want to get this thing signed. Do you mind if we do a little bit of handwriting in here, David?
Not at all. And I
All right,
certainly
so what we're
appreciate,
going to
I certainly
do-
appreciate getting it signed tonight.
Okay. I'm going to cross out the solid waste disposal that says yes. I'm going to X, the municipality does not provide this service. So far, so good. And then under the box that says, for any services above that the municipality does not provide, please indicate who provides the service. I'm going to say solid waste disposal.
The applicant contracted for their own.
Solid waste,
Contracted for private service.
will be privately contracted for by the applicant. Solid waste disposal service will be privately contracted for by the applicant. Is that okay with everybody?
They don't want Dell down there with a pickup picking up trash anyway.
Nor do we. Okay, and with that and with the other language attached to it, is there a motion? And who are you gonna authorize?
I would move to approve. Authorize the board. Fine.
Okay,
Which one's doing it?
and then who, Matt, and then Kurt,
Sure.
because we did a roll call last time, and authorizing the chair to sign.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Get it out of here.
Yeah.
really, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries for
Joe
zero.
yelling from his tractor.
Joe Denardo is not here, so he can't add his vote, but we have the previous vote where we agreed to it. Is that sufficient? Attorney Greg, is that
Absolutely.
okay? Very good.
Absolutely.
All right, so okay. I have signed it and it's in the pink folder.
And so if possible, if that could be, scanned PDF'd and sent to me and Abby Shalou and Aaron Brondike, that would be great, because we will then file it as an exhibit. You can mail me the original, you can keep the original, but for purposes of completing the Act 250 application, I can do that once I have it, just as an attachment on email, if that's okay with Bill.
All set, Bill? A thumbs up from Bill.
We'll take care of it.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Hey,
Thanks.
thank you, David.
Take care.
All right. So there. I think anything else for our police chief?
Nope.
Okay.
I think that was longer than it wanted to be anyway.
Well, it was his fault for saying it was going to be really short.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner. Good evening.
Spent most of the last 2 weeks getting the fire station ready for paving, which happened today. Center Rutland should be black and happy. We cleaned the manhole down at Car Wash a couple times. We went down today. We haven't found any solid debris the last 2 or 3 times we've been down there. So we went down today with the water trailer and we flushed the, manhole by Route 7, cleaned that really well. There was quite a bit of mud and stuff in there. So we're thinking the manhole up by the entrance was clean. So we're thinking maybe that basket's holding up some of the stuff. So we're gonna go take that out and let her rip, see what happens, check it a couple times in the next week or so. And we were down there today and the place was slammed and that 8-inch pipe was running half and they were putting it out. So,
Stilt.
Yep.
What's the situation?
I don't know if that's just, like I said, the uphill manhole, there was really nothing in it. So I don't know, like during low flow times, if there's just dirt from the process getting into, it's not totally clean water getting in there.
Mm.
And then the basket's kind of holding it up a little bit during low flow times. And it's collecting, and then overnight it kind of settles out or whatever. And then tomorrow it does it again. And so we're just going to go down there and pull the basket out and see what happens over the next week or so.
Okay.
But we haven't pulled any bottles, cans, any of that rags, anything out of there in the last 2 or 3 times we've been down there. So we're making progress.
Have you looked in the manhole, that catches Alderman's car wash? See if the same type of silt's in there.
No, haven't.
I wonder if we should pop that.
Can do
Just-
that. Right there.
Yeah, see if it's similar type of,
Yeah.
you know, maybe it's common. I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. Or maybe the city guys know from some of the car washes in the city.
We can open that up. That's not,
Try to figure out some sort of baseline, you know?
right. Yeah, we can do that. We started the first round of mowing yesterday.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
I gotta say, the mower doesn't reach back, doesn't have.
well, so this was just kind of like push everything back right now.
Okay,
And then, kind of like the one pass thing. Problem is to go out and do the whole thing and then do it again. I mean, I lose a guy for a month. And then in August, I lose a guy for a month. And I don't have that capacity right now. I've got guys on vacation. I got guys on vacation for the 4th of
well,
July.
I'm gonna go out with my mower and tidy up.
We appreciate your business. And the only other thing is just a quick, I don't know what we want to do about, we talked about a committee meeting. They're opening bids on Thursday, which I was the town representative for the first round. I can do that again. Joe can't be here, so then we can set something up with Robert when he can decipher everything and bring it back. So
Easy enough. Yeah. I guess we gotta figure out when Robert can do it.
right, that would be the next.
We'll figure out when Robert can do it. Do
Shoot him an email in the morning and
something next week, probably.
Available next week. It shouldn't be terrible.
Easy, easy.
We did have some. Oh, yeah, there's a letter from Otter Creek Engineering concerning the short use path, the engineering review and compliance action letter.
That we'd handle that at the committee meeting
Okay,
when
so
Robert's
that
here.
needs to go there first. and-
Yeah.
Okay. To highway. Okay. Highway, would you please also look at when the town crews may be available to help start helping with the pocket park walkway to the edge, because we were gonna tap you folks to do that after we see. There is a preliminary plan done by Robert Clark. That's the first step, and we'll be working with him and then doing another.
And we can talk to him at the committee meeting about that also.
Okay. Good.
Cause that's, the preliminary plan shows the guardrail all being moved.
Mhm.
It took me a year to get guardrail fixed.
So,
Just saying.
well, we're also, Barbara Noyes Pulling and I were also trying to get a time when we could sit down with him about this preliminary, so we probably should be including you.
Mhm.
Because it does affect some of your work and probably budget.
Most likely.
Yes. Alrighty. Questions for our town road commissioner?
There was a big to do on Columbus the other day. And if you made any progress on that whole.
No, I'm over it this week. I'm looking at it tomorrow.
As he gets there, he gets it done before Will gets there.
That's, yes.
Okay. If there is nothing else, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You guys have a good night.
Thank you too. Before Ted leaves, we do have a third-class liquor license. This is for East Restaurant LLC. It is 283 US Route 4E. It's up at the old mall. And this is,
Yeah, it's East Asia.
yeah,
I feel like we just did that one.
I know. I think this one was the one that came in real short notice last year. We had to have a special meeting or something.
Yeah.
Do we also?
I feel like we just did one, not
We did this.
like very recently,
Whatever,
but
there's no problem.
yeah, maybe it's a different class.
Okay, any problems?
Yeah,
Chief?
second.
No problems. Motion's made and seconded to approve the third-class restaurant bar license. All in for East Restaurant LLC. All in favor, please say aye.
I
Aye. Motion carries, and we all get to sign.
can get my scorpion bowl and my General Tso's chicken now.
Oh, I gotta get up there.
Thank you for a scorpion bowl.
I,
I mean, I like them.
they get you where you need to go. Yeah.
Okay, Chris. Okay. So who's next? Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief.
Participating.
Doesn't look it. Did they just have a call? I thought I heard the little.
Awesome.
Okay. All right.
Who actually showed up?
Marie Faignant, Town Lister. I've been in person.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So I have several things to bring before the board tonight. And the first of which is I feel compelled to respond to what transpired at the meeting on June 2nd while I was not available. And
About.
the habitat, but I will not be addressing anything particular
Right.
because we have a meeting.
We have a meeting tomorrow. So.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I just want to confirm what Matt had said, that the exemption for an organization for tax exempt status is a very detailed statutory framework and legal framework. And I am frankly surprised that anybody on this board would comment without having a full understanding of that framework. I also want to, because I'm an elected official, I feel compelled to respond to the fact that we vehemently, strongly disagree and dispute that they were not provided with a written decision. And despite the multiple self-serving representations or misrepresentations as to whether or not we provided a written one, I would implore all of you to come to the Board of Civil Authority meeting tomorrow, in addition to any taxpayer who wants to understand what goes into one of these decisions, including the idea whether an organization must go in front of a town vote because the monies that are expended are covered by every other taxpayer or that are excused. So that's all I want to say, is that there is more to the picture. So moving on. We lodged our grand list today.
Oh, good.
Yes. So grievance hearings will be on Monday, June 29th. They start at 9 in the morning. They go until the lunch hour, then they resume at 1, go until 5, resume at 6. So we are, for the first
time in a couple of years, we are having the afternoon or the evening session as well, to allow those who may want to come, that not to lose work time, to grieve their assessments.
Now, the notices go out to only those folks who have a change in assessment, right?
Notices have gone out to anybody who has a change of assessment, or yes, it's a change of assessment. It's on the real estate that's a change of assessment, and the business personal property change of assessment. This year is the first year. We have not done them in the past, and that was something that I decided that needed to be done for every business who had a change of assessment as well, so they could understand how their inventories have changed and what we did with their inventories once they sent the inventories, so that they could have an opportunity to ensure we did it properly before the tax bill went out. So we have sent that. A considerable amount of time was done to reduce the amount of mail that is returned when we send tax bills out and grievance notices, but mostly it's the tax bills. The tax bills are based on the information that we have as to the address of a property owner, and there's a lot of absentee property owners that live somewhere else. And if you move, please let us know, because it doesn't alleviate the obligation under that assessment. It also may preclude your full knowledge of the grievance policy, the process and the 14 days and the timing. But to counteract that, it is posted in the West Rutland Library. The notice for grievance is posted on the town clerk's office. The notice of grievance for the hearings, the grievance hearings for June 29th. They're posted. They will be posted tomorrow at the transfer station. They are posted on all the bulletin boards here. They're, like I said, at the West Rutland post office as well, and on the town's website. So the several notices. So we will make appointments. And so we just want to make sure everybody is aware, because there are a few of those absentee owners whose property assessments have changed, whether they are aware of that or not. So I want to put that up. The other thing is we have reached a decision as to the manner of which we want to go forward with reappraisal. Okay. And I had indicated that this was, we would talk about it, and that the reason why I couldn't do this over the phone is because this is not as you would think. So we have two companies, one that would require us to change our software in its entirety with a significant learning curve. And there are aspects to that program that have some benefit. But with NIMRIC redoing their program, now that the gentleman that we work with now owns NIMRIC and has the licenses for these programs, he's written new programs, and he's already having them in trial. We have the initial agreement or contract that came from New England Municipal Consultants, Brian Silvestri's firm, whom we have been talking about, to potentially change to the Patriot. And I just want to bring you back to hearken as to how that came about. Is when the property valuation, the Department of Property Valuation made recommendations for the legislature as to how they could revamp this whole tax appraisal system. And one of the recommendations was a statewide assessment program. And while that recommendation is made by them, over the last 3 to 4 years, the state has been trying to implement a program called VTPI, owned by Catalyst. Okay. So Catalyst owns Patriot. The concern was, or the question was, if there was any expectation that the state was going to come down with a directive that we switch across the board to Patriot, the time to do so would have been for reappraisal. You can't do it in between. It's cumbersome, outrageously expensive. So that's what started that discussion, because we could not get any confirmation from any of our state representatives that that wasn't the plan. We have since gotten that confirmation that they know they can't make that change. So, with that, and I told you that Nimerick called us and we invited him in to show us the program. They have both given us proposals. Now, Nimerick, our Patriots, or New England Municipal, was based on a proposal that we convert. And I just have my notes. Their proposal is enticing. It's $227,000 to do an appraisal that starts 2029 and ends in 2031.
2031.
I mean, excuse me. Yes. No, 2027 and ends in 29. Excuse me. I misspoke. So that does seem doable. However, we're not recommending that we go with them. We recommend that we go with Nimerick. Their bid is $229,000. So it's a $2,000 difference, $2,000 more. They do not start until 2029 and they end in 2031. So there's also a 2-year delay. So that you go, how do we justify that 2-year delay to get the reappraisal done by 2031? That is a concern, which led to multiple discussions with our DA. Back in 2024, when I started this job, one of the things that we have to do in order to lodge a grand list is confirm all the inactive parcels and all the exempt parcels and everything every year. And when doing that work, I noticed some interesting issues in our ongoing process that are not addressed in the last reappraisal, don't know where they came from, and was under the impression that at the time that we would have to wait to reappraisal to correct this. So I've been keeping a list for the last 3 years of issues. Given that we want to delay the start, I specifically queried the state as to whether or not I can go ahead and correct these in advance. The concern is that many of these properties, there's no market analysis to support some of these practices. And absent the fair market value or the market analysis to support some of these practices, it is affecting our CLA because we are showing a altered number at the end of the day when we do our sales verifications and our sales equalization for no marketable reason. So let me put it this way. Let me give you examples. Every trailer that is mobile home unlanded in this town is people pay property taxes on while they live there. And they own it. The minute they convey that trailer or that mobile home back to the landowner, it's fallen off our tax rolls
Completely.
completely. Every single one of them. No rhyme, no reason. My initial question was, is this voted? Are these issues that are voted? So that's the thing. So I've done the look. I can't find, there's nothing in the lister's office that guides us as to where some of these, I think it just has fallen off. The other thing is there are developments that have people who have a septic lot. When I say a septic lot, they own property across the street, or they own the adjoining land in which their septic system is on. That septic lot is not assessed. It is inactive, not captured in any way, means, or form. My first response was, how is that fair to somebody who has 3-4 acres of property and has a septic system on that property? That septic system acreage is not carved out of their assessment. So we're going to change the mobile home unlanded. We're going to change the septic lots that are dropped off. And when I say we're going to change, we have means of being able to check and make sure we capture and redo those assessments for everyone who is affected by it. Another example is we have properties for whatever reason. Now, we can all agree that on a fair market evaluation or a marketability analysis, you can see when a house is overbuilt for a neighborhood. For example, putting a 4,000 square foot home in the middle of State Street in Rutland, you could probably make the argument that they'll never recover their investment in that property. I agree with that as long as it's done by neighborhoods. We have properties who are getting $60,000, $70,000 assessment reductions for the size of their basement regardless of the code, the area. So it's
We're
done by
getting a little bit out in the weeds here. because
Well,
I
I'm
think
getting
this
in
is
the weeds because these are properties so that
you need to adjust.
we're saying that we're going to adjust them in order to help bridge that 2-year gap
Okay.
to go with NIM. Because a property, and again, we'd have to do every single one. And the last one is porches. There is a depreciation factor based on the size of a porch we've confirmed we cannot find any marketable support that the size of your porch affects your sales price. Numerous porches are depreciated costs. We have functional depreciation rates for the size of a basement up to 18 or 26% when you take that off. So as long as we do it to everyone who's affected by that, and how that changes and how that affects our CLA is when these homes are sold, they're being sold for a fair market value that is way higher than our appraised value. And that affects the CLA. So that's how the other reason that we want to go with NIMRIC is we were very impressed with Ryan Silvestri. I think his firm, and if somebody was to look forward, one of the things that we've done is I've called other communities. My number one concern is support from on how to do all this work. It's very detailed. There's a lot of questions, and while Catalyst is getting better, there's a lot of negative feedback on Catalyst responding to technical issues. That's significant. I can call NIMRIC and within 2 seconds I have somebody on the phone. That's huge. When you are doing this type of work with several programs, that is very valuable to this job. The other thing is we do not lose our historical data. And I use that historical data to go back and check how properties have been appraised in the past, how barns, it's interesting because without getting too detailed, the way we do our sketching, each sketch is assigned a number and it fills into the program. The minute you delete that sketch, it auto populates new numbers and it changes everything. So if you don't pay attention when you're deleting it, you may have to go back to a previous year to look to see how they assessed it so that you're not changing that assessment absent any material changes. So these are all the things that we're considering. And the CLA is really, it's as good as who we get to reappraise because we need to get them in the houses. So that's going to be a lot of work on the lister's office. So we're making the recommendation. Both of them are status quo on getting into the houses. Both of them are status quo on utilizing the listers to help defray, costs and to get people signed up. So for all those reasons, we're going to recommend that we engage with NIMRIC. They've sent a contract. I do not know, this is where you have to fill me in on the process from this point forward, whether or not you want one now, or do you want to take it under advisement, you read?
Well, I think what we need to do is get the contract out to us.
Okay,
And we'll put it in the packet for next time.
perfect.
Is there any timeline on either contract?
No. No.
Question. Did we receive a letter from the state saying the date by which we had to reappraise?
Yes, we did last year.
Okay,
Oh,
And
it's
state-
not a date. It's a reappraisal order.
okay,
And we had 180 days to give them our plan.
okay.
Which-
And with this, with your recommendation, if we voted at our next meeting to go with NEMRIC,
Mhm.
that would satisfy the state.
Correct. So what we would have to do in the lister's
Even though
office,
it's
delayed,
2
yes,
years out
Yes.
further than what
yes.
Patriot would.
And then, right, it is, yes. And I've confirmed that with our DA as well. And we
Okay.
would just give them the notice that we have, that's all they're looking for, is the fact that we're getting somebody,
Okay,
okay? And then the goal would be, because they are still going the other 6 years, is we are on their 6-year cycle as an appraisal company that's been around for a long time.
so we pick up 6 years from that, so we reappraise again in 2037?
Well, according to what's happening in the state right now, that would be the
Okay.
understanding, yes.
So what's your
State's gonna
pleasure?
Find more money if they want to reappraise every 6 years.
Wait, how much is in our reappraisal fund for the town?
The last time I looked, it was like 283,000.
Okay, we're good. Yeah, and that's enough to also let you do this 2 years interim of adjustments on the mobile homes, the septic lots, and the porches.
Yes, I would, right, because that would be something that we would have to do anyway, because if you do it for one, you do it for all.
Yeah,
So I just want to sort of clarify with the recap, and I have a question and then a
Sure.
observation. So the recap on the recommendation is keeping historical data more familiar, even though the program's getting updated, you're more familiar with how it works than.
It's simple and easy. And, there's a saying like, keep it simple, stupid type thing, which I hate using, but it is very simple. It does what it needs to do. It is being updated to do the more that was being considered lacking.
Which Patriot had,
Patriot has, right.
still too much learning curve.
So if you had seen this, I do not, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to learn this very quickly. I told you guys, and I especially in response to you when you interviewed me, that I was a very quick learner. For me, it was very lucky. I'm very fortunate that I could decipher that computer program easily. Patriot is, I don't think it'd be a challenge for me. I think it's a challenge because NIMRIC is a challenge, okay, for people. The Patriot information is on one screen with multiple drop-down boxes. So you have to know what you're looking for, where you're looking for. It is a significant learning curve for doing it. Is it doable? Both Kathy and I have agreed that we would do what we need to do to learn it, if that's what we had to do.
So, then my question.
Yes.
To clarify for myself, we're talking about software here, but the people that actually are doing the appraisal that are setting these timelines, they're companies that use this software or?
Okay, so, yeah, no. So our job as listers is to maintain the grand list from the last appraisal. So the people who are doing appraisals are using the software that we use. So somebody would have to come in using the software we have. Ryan would be installed. So at one point he would have to be using both programs to be interacting the data.
If we switched.
And then we would be completely in Patriot. But keep in mind, Patriot is not independent of NIMRIC. Patriot requires NIMRIC to create the grand list.
So, but as far as the contractor for the reappraisal, he can do either one, or I'm unclear what drives.
No, he would be doing the Patriot. We would be required to maintain the NIMRIC. He would not be putting new information in the NIMRIC system while he's doing the reappraisal. We would have to have both in order to, because the Patriot's new, we would have nothing upon which to base the grand list for 2 years until he was done his reappraisal and all the data was in. So we have to maintain the NIMRIC for that 2-year program to continue running a grand list each year.
What I'm trying to understand is the difference in timeline of when the reappraisal can happen is because different contractors
different contractors have different schedules because NIMRIC is completely booked up until 29 when they can start and finish it.
When you say NIMRIC, do you mean NIMRIC or do you mean the contractor that uses NIMRIC?
No, NIMRIC itself, New England Municipal.
So what I did not understand is how are they involved with the reappraisal?
Okay, so, all right, so they have, NIMRIC is large enough to have the company that is doing the software, and they have a whole organization within their company that does the reappraisals for other
house project for them, whereas for the other
it is. And NIMRIC has many of their staff that actually acts as assessors and listers in other towns. So they have a whole bevy of people that can do it. They have just teams that do this appraisal work. Then they have the team that does the software programs.
So here's my concern.
Yes.
I'm wondering, we can reflect on this later. And
Absolutely.
I don't know if you have enough data or a good enough crystal ball to try to assess this. My concern is that the fixes that you've identified that you think need to be done, and then let's just assume for the sake of discussion that you can make all those without having any legal problems. Assuming that's the case, my concern is that the impact of making those adjustments on this ultimate CLA, which of course is subject to factors that are outside of our control, would not sort of offset the difference that we might see in waiting the additional 2 years.
It may not, and it may help. So your CLA is governed by spending. Let's just, we have a CLA, but how that CLA is affecting our education is based on the budgets that are being passed. So when a CLA is lower, and if it's lower on the same average across the state, you're going to be paying either the same as every other state, because now our towns are required to pay for statewide education and to help make sure there's enough money to educate the entire state. So we all have our roles in all our towns. Our CLA is the purpose of a reappraisal is not, it is to make sure every taxpayer of property owner, to put it this way, every property owner is being assessed what they should be and that they're paying what they need to be paying compared to their neighbor. It's the COD and the CLA. And that is why these numbers, we could have a full reappraisal and still have a CLA that tanks. Because it's based on spending, it's based on whether other,
Don't think that's right.
okay, well,
The ultimate, what we have to pay is in part based on spending, but what the state says we have to pay varies dramatically based on how they tweak the formula. You could have a level funded budget and what we have to pay goes up dramatically if our CLA goes down, which is what's happened this year.
if our CLA goes down, right, but it's going down comparatively to other towns.
Right. So
And
that's
so-
my concern is other towns are getting reappraisals done and the more time goes on, the more hours it's going to drop. And so will that drop with time going on be much worse if we wait an additional 2 years versus.
Well,
It seems to me
that's
the
the
mobile homes and decks
concern. I
probably
mean,
isn't gonna make the huge.
right, so then you're left, and that's this is not a decision that's been made lately. I think I've been here enough times telling you that we are trying to figure out, because to go and switch over to a program that maybe not have the support in years that one that is working with, like you pointed out once before, 190 towns working, that it's doing it since the 1950s that they started this.
You're talking about Nemrick.
Yes. So the concern is this. We have a lot of concerns. We have a lot of concerns of the longevity of Patriot and Catalyst. And the reason we do this is because, for example, Vermont State changed the current use ways of doing things, started a whole new current use. Well, this year they changed it and eliminated that 3 years later because it's not working. There are arguments, people on the Lister listserv commenting, petitioning that Catalyst VT Pi be dumped, that they haven't spent their time. That's Catalyst. So the concern is it's a relatively newer program. What's its longevity versus giving up the historical data? So that's my concern. And yes, I do. But as the DA, as my DA said, we've waited since 2013, and that was a statistical, and that was 2009 was the original. What's 2 more years?
Yeah, I thought what we had heard originally on this subject was that everyone had been moving to Patriot and we were the dinosaur.
So
That's
you
not
have
the
to
case.
understand that we're in a position that number one, we had guidance. We'd had meetings with you. We'd had meetings with the school board with a lot of pressure to try to get a reappraisal. We tried to see if that would work. We also have to come to you for the funding. So you're going to make a decision and say, okay, if we think we should go this. And when I was asked to give an update as to where we were, that's what I did, was give an update. There are some shiny things to that program. There is not a doubt. I work in that program. I do the assessment of that, of NIMRIC. There are things that I have a hard time. Well, I could say, for example, to Mary, right? When she does her current use, I have to identify which barns are in her current use or which properties are excluded, and we have to be able to identify them. I have to appraise each barn individually as a standalone, and under NIMRIC's current situation, in order to describe her big barn, it's in 4 components. So when a taxpayer sees that their barn is in 4 different components for us to give a price, there's confusion there. So when Patriot can tell me I can now just pick up the whole barn as one number, because I'm not worried about what a taxpayer is gonna try to interpret that and tell me they don't have a milking parlor. And if that's just how Nimerick has to build it because it was older. Those are benefits, being able to physically depreciate individual rooms. But these are things that Nimerick now has indicated to us because of Chris Mealy taking over and owning the licensure, that he's rewritten the program and he's updating it. That these are things that they're able to match. So if that can be matched, that's huge. And you have the historical information. So it is a 6 of 1. I would have no
I think
qualms
the big
jumping
thing-
in.
I do want to hear.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
other
yeah.
Members of the select board have for questions. My concern is the 2-year delay.
I knew exactly that that's where our
The money is.
the money is, it's $2,000
yes,
difference.
2,000 over.
It's a 2-year delay. So the concern is 2-year delay to get it done. And Ryan has indicated, yes, that we'd be in their rotation as well for the 6 years, but we are 2 years. So that's
Do you have any questions?
How much was it to go with Patriot?
227.
Yeah, to purchase that software and start using it. and
So-
implement it.
He had initially, and I don't have the ongoing numbers, in his initial agreement, and when I spoke to you guys when I was in Florida on the phone about the Patriot, he did confirm that the initial software for converting to Patriot was included in that price. So it's 227.
227 was for the whole
That's for the-
Appraisal.
reappraisal, including the new software.
Yes, does not include the price for the business personal property, which Nimerick also is going to be rewriting for us. They're probably going to be rewriting it even if we
No,
need.
but the Nimerick price of 229 also doesn't include the business personal property.
So it does, because Nimerick, so a lot of towns don't do business personal property in the same way we do, which we send out a detailed inventory form asking for the inventory for fair market value. And the change, a lot of the towns, they send the same form and they take the number that the companies give. You can plot that number into Nimerick.
I'm sorry, I guess what I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out is apples to apples here. If
Right.
Patriot is 227, does not include business personal.
Not a
property.
separate program.
Nemrick.
It's 229.
229, but it does.
It allows us to put a value in for business personal property already directly. It has not created the software. It does not have a separate software program like what we've been using with G&K. That is something that they would be willing to develop for us. So that would be an additional expense. So it's an additional expense on both of them.
And then we have a yearly expense with Patriot as well, I assume.
And Nimerick as well.
Yeah, but we're still gonna have to keep Nimerick,
You are.
even if we go to Patriot.
So-
So we're gonna
So
be,
wouldn't we be smarter to stay with Nemrick?
yeah, and then I'm worried about if there's any issue meshing Patriot to Nimerick into Kari's office, if there would be any, if we went with Patriot, if there would be a headache going back and forth between the two.
Well, one of the things that we learned, and we learned this from the director, but we try to confirm it, that there is some concern about doing that. They're able to do it. They're able to mesh. One of the things that we did learn is that there are expenses incurred
Mhm.
through Catalyst, not Ryan Sylvester's, but Catalyst itself charges for when we need to upload. I upload every week to the state. So we were told by several different people that you have to schedule with Catalyst to do that now. That they have to come in and help you schedule. So there's issues that when you start peeling away that's why this wasn't something we ran into. It's let's see if we can talk to people, get information that are actually using it.
Yep.
people who use the Patriot have been using it for years. A lot of the listers have come in. That's what they were trained on, so they have no other knowledge. Again, I'll do whatever. I understand your concern. You just want our recommendation.
Mm.
I understand that the need to get a reappraisal, to get people on board. And to your point, Matt, yes, the CLA is a 3-year study. The equalization is based on 3 years. So even if I was to do all this work this year, which is I'm hoping, that full effect of it won't be,
Yeah, it's not instant.
no, it's
Yeah.
not. So
And honestly,
all I can do is try to help.
you know, by 2028, they might have a totally different system of doing it anyway, you know, with all this education reform. So
Very well possible.
I think we're probably better off sticking with NIMRIC and a system that will
I
work
agree.
all through the town office. Not have more subscription fees because we've already got a pile of them every year. And, you know, if NIMRIC's updating their system, that'll be great. And I think we're gonna just have to wait the 2 years. And who knows? It's a crapshoot what our taxes are gonna do anyway, so.
So we're back to, are you still okay with looking at the contract first and getting it in hand? Putting it in our packet?
Mhm.
That's something we gotta send to Kevin.
Probably should.
We might as well just send it to him then, cause
Okay.
I can stare at it till
Yeah.
the cows come home. That means nothing to me.
You have like a
Oh.
1-page summary, the two, you know, pros and cons. That would be really.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, okay. So let's plan on doing that. If you can get the new contract over to Bill, we'll get it up to Kevin. We'll have to take a look.
So when you're asking for the pros and cons of both, did you want the other contract as well then?
We probably should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would think that in order to make that analysis.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, I want to thank her. I think she's done it.
Yeah.
A good amount of legwork. So
Yes.
Well, I think,
appreciate it.
so, all right then. On that note, I'll let everybody else talk. Mike is falling asleep in the back, sorry.
Okay.
I know it's gonna be long enough.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marie.
All right. Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
I think everybody should stand up and stretch. Please take that time while I saunter up to the table. No, at 8 o'clock. Nothing to do with you.
I know.
No, I gave the option to stand. Alright, I'll try to be brief and quick. Couple things. The third is going well. I just have to, I'm waiting for, a lot of people have said the food trucks are coming, but I'm still getting confirmation and then sending them over to Bill so that they can at least fill out the app, which you said I'd have by the time I got to my truck, and it's not in my email, just an FYI. I'll have to look. I looked today and couldn't find it.
So how many do we think we have lined up?
For different vendors and things right now, I would say it's 10 to 12.
That's good.
There's different types of vendors. You know, if you want, if you say vendor, we also have, I got the call from the guy that has the aquatic pets or whatever I classify. There's going to be like some interactive pet stuff, and he's got a name, and I'm tired. I don't remember what it is. And he texted me or emailed me today.
Okay.
816 is going well. I will need a committee meeting, and I'd prefer if we did it before our next meeting with just some topics, if that works for you guys. Just a quick one, just to
Yep,
kind
give
of
us a
tighten
date.
everything up. Well, our next meeting is the 20, is what?
30th.
The 30th. So 5 o'clock on the 30th. If you're good with that, you can meet here, and then if you're good with that, but we do have to have a meeting. We got some stuff coming up. If you can, great. If not, we can adjust that. And I can send out an email, and then Bill can put it so you don't have to give me an answer right on the spot. The pool is in full swing with lessons. They started on Monday, and we will be crammed with lessons starting tomorrow, the next day, because everyone's out of school. But it's gone really well. The guards have done a really good job, getting lots of compliments on
A nice 50-year-old pool. Speaking of 50-year-old pool, Weston and Sampson came on June 4th with their architect, not with the architect, and they measured the building. We had conversations, and they're doing their aspect on, they're doing their report on the building and whether we can save it, reuse it, repurpose it, what have you. So they did that step. I'm meeting with the pool architect on the 29th at the pool to discuss obviously plans and pool and stuff like that. So that's moving along. And then once I do that, then I'll have another meeting once I have some more information from those folks. Baseball is in its last week. Huge thank you to all the coaches and the parents. So that'll finish up the end of this week. The seniors are headed out on the SS Minnow. Anybody know what I'm referencing, people?
Oh, yes.
Anybody know what I'm referencing? The SS Minnow.
I
Do you remember,
I
Sharon?
could almost even sing. the
Matt,
theme
do you know
song.
that? The SS Minnow? And the ship set sail on it. All right. So anyways, AKA the Ethan Allen, we are headed. There are 20 plus seniors that were making the journey next Tuesday. I have to give a huge shout out to the 7th grade. They did community service at the park yesterday. We were going to paint and do the trails, but we didn't have enough time because Friday was oppressive, so we canceled Friday's activity. Yesterday, they absolutely cleared all of our trails, the mountain biking trails, the walking one I'm working on, and they look to get 45 7th graders to work. It was actually very impressive, and they did a fantastic job. So huge thank you to them and the teachers to helping that go. We have pictures, I can share them with you. I gave a couple people the Summer Jam series that's at the pool. It kicks off on the 12th of July. Aaron Audette Band is the first one, and then the next 2 Sundays after that will be our free live music at the pool from 6 to 8. And I think that's all I might have, unless Bill, you think I might have forgot something, or Teddy. We should be good to go. We will have a quick meeting. Obviously, we'll meet before our final on the 3rd.
Yeah. Do we have flyers that can be brought up to the Gables, the Meadows?
Flyers for what? We have like 4 different
July
flyers out right
3rd.
now.
Start with July 3rd.
We do. Yep, I can ask the city to run off the copies. Those have all been put out on all social media. So we can run flyers up there for that. We can also run the townwide Rutland Town Community Day flyer. We have flyers for that.
Yeah, let's do the July 3rd one like right now.
Right.
And get it out there.
That's fine. We can do that. The banner is up at the park if you happen to notice. It went up the day after. So it's up there now, so people are seeing it. And I met with the rec department. April and I met and went over logistics last Friday. So we feel like we have a pretty good hold on how it's going to look and what it's going to do. How we're going to be.
Okay.
So that's all I got. Unless anybody else has anything for me.
Any questions for Mike?
Oh, you might be driving on the 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going
It
anywhere.
mentioned. Yeah. What was the times again for that?
4 to 8.
4 to 8.
But I wouldn't have you go to 8. We'll chat.
All right.
I might be able to get you out of it.
I got some fireworks I got set up out on Palmazine, but
We'll chat though.
I happen to be involved in the Lake Palmazine fireworks this year.
With that one. That's all I got.
Okay.
Somebody has anything?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate
I'll
it.
send an email for committee meeting and we'll go from there. Thank you all. Have a good evening. And thank you for letting me pick the clock. We needed at the pool. Oh.
Clerk, town clerk and treasurer.
Good evening.
Hi, Kari.
So you've already addressed the liquor license and you've already addressed the Cortina funds. The only other things that I wanted to mention while it was my turn, and actually you already did first, was the fact that there's a BCA meeting tomorrow. I know you already said that, but out of the people that are there at the select board meeting right now, who can confirm that they're coming tomorrow?
I'll be there.
Friday.
Okay, I will as well. So it's Mary and Sharon. I did mention it to Joe when I spoke with him, so he's possibility.
Okay. We are looking for at least 10 members so that we can make a decision. And I'm being adamant about this one. I should be adamant about all of them, but this one is directed directly from an attorney who gave us a timeline. So this some of the people that can't attend have prior obligations such as surgeries and such. But if you don't have something pressing going on, we need your attendance there so that we can at least make 10 people. And I can confirm with the two of you and four of the BCA members, that's only six. So we need more.
All right, I'll have to move some stuff around. I can be here, Kari.
All right, so I believe it's 2:00 tomorrow, so that'll be good. That was my public service announcement. Um, my second public service announcement is the reminder to people that are listening through this mode of communication that if you received a delinquent tax letter in the mail, it is not a scam. I put that on Facebook. People are calling, wondering if it was real. It is real, and it does have the phone number of the delinquent tax collector on it. So when you receive that, please give that phone number a call, and the collector can tell you how much you owe and why. We're getting a lot of phone calls. We can answer those, but they really should be going to the delinquent tax collector. It's either one of two reasons. It's either you missed a payment, and that's okay. I mean, it happens. Nothing to be ashamed about. Or your payment came to us late and it's been accruing interest. And I'd like to add to that that the town of Rutland for many years, before I came aboard, before many people came aboard as clerk and treasurer, made the decision that we would not send out reminders to our taxpayers. We do so for different ways of communication to remind everyone that tax payments are due. They have been stagnant. They haven't, the due dates have not moved in many years. So it's always been the three due dates. And there are several things out there to guide you with that and remind you. So it is the policy of the town not to send out reminders. And it is the responsibility of the taxpayer to take on that, to know what they are owed or what they need to pay and when they need to pay it. So that was my second thing. And let's see, I believe that might be it. I believe that's all I had.
That's got something.
So, Kari, on the topic of the delinquent taxes, been pointed out to me, and maybe you've heard about this as well, that the town website on the delinquent taxpayer page says that your taxes are delinquent 20 days after the due date. Wondering, well, I looked at it today and that's what I saw. So I'm wondering if it's just poorly worded and meant to say that that's when the warrant gets issued, or
That's what's on his portion of the tax, our rutlandtown.com.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he said.
So, okay. Well, first of all, Bill and I can take a look at that. And it was, how can I say this? It was an invitation extended to our delinquent tax collector for many years to make sure that the information was correct. So In the meantime, we can try to correct that. If that's what it says. It is correct as far as I'm sorry, it's incorrect, but as far as the warrant is issued is 20 days. It's delinquent the next day, then following May 11th, depending on the timing of the calendar. So we'll take a look at that, Bill and I. But
Yeah, so I think reading that is implying that there's some kind of grace period, but there's not. Once you do it the next day, there's going to be a penalty and interest.
correct. And I remember the last thing I was going to say. You guys were having a conversation. It is the last meeting of the fiscal year today. So there's no more after this. There's a meeting, but that's the new fiscal year.
Meeting. Right. Okay.
Well, for purposes of when the money gets spent,
It is, this is it. This is the number 26. This is it. Yeah. It will be coming out of the new budget next select board meeting.
Okay. Anything for our town clerk or treasurer? Okay. Thanks very much, Kari, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, you will. Thanks.
All right. John Paul Faignant. Good evening, JP, and thanks
Hey,
for
Mary.
joining me. Hey,
How's it going?
it is. We put on the agenda because I didn't want to forget to bring it up, and that's the discussion of the possibility of having our own enforceable health officer ordinance. And this is something you raised a while ago, and Kevin had issued a letter on it, and I think we're going back a couple of years now. And it occurred to me I didn't want it to have it lost if you saw a need for us to pursue something in the ordinance way to give you some, extra oomph as you're going around inspecting properties. And this came up because of the Cortina.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So I did, in anticipation of us discussing this, take another look at what the legislature has done. With regard to rental housing, they've really put the local health officers in a subservient role. And the tenant complaints or landlord complaints that I have been receiving that I refer to the state, which is their preference, have been handled and have never come back on me. If I were under the new rules to conduct an inspection without the state official being there, I would have to author an 18-page report that includes areas of expertise I don't have, such in construction and electrical, water service. In the past, I've had to hire a contractor to come with me to do the inspection so that I can fill that form out properly. So they really make it prohibitive for the local health officers to get involved in the landlord-tenant situations.
So was it appropriate for me when I received that inquiry from a tenant, was it appropriate for me to pass it on to you?
Yes, I have a communication obligation. If something comes to my attention, I immediately go to the appropriate state official with it, and I confirm all my communications in writing.
Okay.
The other thing, Mary, is I kind of cooled off on wanting to have our own enforceable ordinance because when they changed 613, 18 VSA 613, they also said that while the local board of health can have its own ordinances with regard to public health hazards, they have to be consistent with the purposes and policies that the state put in the statute, which is they want to have the landlord-tenant forum.
Okay.
And it seems to be working. The people they hired for the 5 districts in Vermont have the necessary electrical and construction background to be able to do thorough inspections on their own.
Okay. All right, well, that's helpful. I did want to make sure that we didn't lose this somewhere and have it come back to bite us, but it sounds like it's okay if we just go with what the state has in place. And have you know, have them do the inspections because they're qualified to do so.
Yes, and after we shut down the Cortina, they took that authority completely away from local health authorities. The statute reads that any restaurant or I forget how else they describe it, but lodging, restaurants, motels, they've taken them completely out of our jurisdiction. If we
Okay.
become aware of a public health hazard, we have a duty to report, but that's the extent of it.
Oh. When are they, do you think, going to completely do away with local health officers?
Well, the discussion is around the need that nobody else wants to do, or the state's not interested, like dog bites and animal control. And there are still some limited duties for health officers. I can certainly, as a conduit, sometimes town residents are more comfortable calling me than the state, or they need some help in just coordinating those communications. We still have a role to play in that. But yeah, they pretty much have centralized the health department services.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for
Sure.
hanging on to come in and go over this. And now we can just mark this as one we don't need to deal with. So I appreciate
Yeah.
your help with that.
Okay. You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, Barbara Pulling, Town Planning Commission Chair. Good evening.
Good evening. I guess I'll start with, do you need us, the Planning Commission, to do something in regards to the changes to the subdivision bylaws?
And that's kind of a Bill question, so I'm going to have Bill talk about that too.
Yes.
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
They have to go back to the planning commission for comment because you changed a definition. Their comment can be like, cool, and then it comes back to you. So, but it has to go back to them to comment on your change.
Now, does the whole ordinance go back, or just they should be notified of the change?
Because when Kevin was looking, we kind of talked about it, it's a definition change is substantive.
Okay.
So it just goes back to them. They say, "Yep, it looks good," and then it comes back to you, and then we go for our 2 hearings.
Okay.
So we probably need a motion for that, Bill?
I don't really hear what he didn't really say about that. So I think I don't know. I mean, it doesn't hurt to do one, but
From us?
to go back to the planning commission,
Okay.
send it back to them for comment.
Again, this came up on the issue of lease triggering a requirement to get a subdivision. And we discussed it a little bit last meeting. And decided if there were a time limitation on it, and Kevin recommended we use the definition of a lease of 50 years or longer, because that tracked what's in the transfer tax return. So with that, then it would be clear that any shorter lease would not trigger an automatic subdivision review requirement to get a subdivision permit. Clear as mud on that, folks? Anybody want to make a motion?
Please send that issue back to the planning commission for comment.
Yep.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Are we okay with going with the 50-year recommendation as proposed by our town council?
It looks like Kevin also changed, again, this is even more minor. We had a line in there that said municipal boundaries do not create a subdivision. He added public highways.
Yeah, I think he was probably tracking. Do you also, maker of the motion, want to include that language?
Kevin said.
Right, and seconder of the motion?
Second.
Okay, yes, both issues.
Okay. Okay.
All in favor of sending those two issues back to the planning commission for comment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 4-0.
Yeah, well,
Kurt had one and raised the question of performance bonds. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was,
Oh, wait, yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure. I mean, there's performance bonding and it's, I don't know. It seems to me kind of loose as to when and how it might get implemented. And it kind of seems like it's just kind of at the discretion of the planning commission as to when a performance bond might be required or not. I don't know if that tracks with the old ordinance or where it came from, but I know if it's a simpler subdivision, I know you're going to put people at disadvantage having to get performance bonding. I go through performance bonding. It's a pain in the butt. So I don't, it's just something to be aware of. I'm not sure if there's a better way to write it. I guess it does say it's for, where there's possible impacts on municipal infrastructure. But, I was still reading that and trying to digest it.
I'm pretty sure it was in the previous ordinance.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially because I think it's a 3-year bond, if I remember.
Yeah, but the select board is the one that actually has to approve its terms, and
Yeah.
the planning commission makes a recommendation, but the select board to say yes or no.
Yeah.
That's as currently in this draft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But the planning commission can make a recommendation, says like, hey, this is a big deal. You could require this, and the select board can say, yes, we can with these terms, or no, we don't want it.
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Is that satisfactory?
I suppose. Yeah.
Because if we're sending stuff back to the planning commission, this would be the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all set with the two issues previously identified? Okay. Did we vote on that? Yes, we did. The Did you want any other motions?
I think we're good.
Okay, so I think we're all set, and then once it comes back, Bill has to warn it for 15 days.
Yes, we're gonna do 2 meetings. So we're gonna do the 2 meetings in July. We will warn for public hearings.
Okay.
Very good. Go for that.
Okay. Did that answer your process question, Barbara?
Yes, it did. Thank you. We're also working away on the signage for the historical signs for the Pocket Park. Looks like we can probably combine them into 4 separate signs and then have some additional information on the kiosk. The 4 would be Indigenous, the use of the area as a crossroads, for military purposes, and then for settling, and then maybe get into some of the earliest mills there, or hold the early mills and maybe do that with the marble industry that grew up there. It grew from like nothing to like one of the largest marble companies in the world. So those 3, and then the 4th would be GMP hydro. So we're making some progress there. I haven't heard back from GMP about the kiosk, the actual physical kiosk. And I'm very interested in the meeting with Robert Clark. So, I see what he's doing there, but it seems like there are some things that were omitted in that conceptual
Yeah.
design. So
I think on your desk, you have the folded up conceptual design from Robert Clark. And Barbara and I have been exchanging emails trying to find a good date that we can meet with Robert. And it sounds like Dave Sears needs to be involved as well because his folks are going to be doing the overlook pathway. So he's got to be involved in the timing there.
yeah, I mean, when you look at that, it looks like it's just what Dave would be involved with. It's the parking spots and the guardrail or no guardrail. I can't quite tell whether that's going to stay along Simons Avenue, and then the trail into the overlook. But there's not much more there, and you know, like there's a Jersey barrier that he left out at the entrance that certainly want to talk about, you know, the cosmetics of that.
Yes. And I think that's the purpose of having done the sketch plan, so that we can refine that when we meet with them. So get your comments to us, folks.
I think the Jersey barrier is existing.
Yeah, I think it
is going to come out, and those two square posts on each side of the path. And then the guardrail gets moved back. It's just, you can see where the guardrail gets moved back for the parking.
There starts to be a drop off. So I hope there is room for the parking and the guardrail. So I don't think we want to lose the guardrail.
No, I think there is a guardrail.
No, there's a guardrail. Yeah. And he probably has a cut and fill in order to fill that to get the parking.
Yeah, he was asking about whether we wanted parallel parking there. And that would be one of the questions, I think, in our first meeting. What's the name of the parking he's got there?
Yeah, that's parallel parking. Yeah.
Well, what about angled parking? Should we suggest that there?
You might be able to. It depends on the grading and how much real estate there is.
Yeah, that's
Although
not.
it looks like, looking at the contours, there's plenty of room.
Yeah.
That 490 line here, 493, 491's way out off the road. So there should be room to do it.
Yeah, that would give us a few more spots. Yeah, okay.
So we'll continue to try and find time to meet with Dave.
Yeah.
We're going to get your ideas to us for anything that you spot on the sketch plan. Okay. What else?
Nothing from me, unless you folks have something.
I think that is all I have. Anybody else have anything for Barbara or the planning commission? Hey, thanks for holding on. Let's have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, I hope your meeting ends soon.
Yes, thank you. Somebody changed it. I don't know who did. Okay, Mike Delehanty is not here. No Larry.
Oh, Larry.
Joe Denardo is not here. Bill Sweet does have something on.
On behalf of Joe.
Yes.
In your packet, the league, so regarding the damage to the public safety building, the league of Cities and Towns sent down their own adjuster, and upon getting his report, approved our quote from Nail on Brain
Mhm.
But because of the amount of the loss, they needed us to have a sworn statement, proof of loss, property document, which you have in front of you.
Mhm.
The original in the pink folder, and it is from us stating that we did indeed incur this loss in that amount.
And then this part that says loss did not originate by any.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
What was that part?
It was the accident by the town's highway department. So it was kind of sort of.
Said loss did not originate by any.
So authorize Mary to sign.
Yeah, I know. I was feeling that.
Yeah, we obligated to jail sentences on a regular basis at the time or something, so to my.
Well, what exactly happened?
Oh,
Dave was plowing.
back into the building.
Which begs the question, did we not put enough bollards around this?
There are no barrels in the corner of the buildings. They were not designed, it was not part of the design. They are not there.
All right.
That's separate conversation about.
Backup warning on the truck.
It works, but not with a sander in it. That's the problem.
Okay, how about because I'm good at this stuff. How about after said loss did not originate by any act, design, or procurement on the part of the member, except that
We did it.
the town highway crew caused damage while plowing near the facility.
Do we ask for clarification?
We're just taking out.
It's like nothing's been done without the consent of the member to violate the conditions of the coverage document or render it void. So.
Okay, so I guess essentially you're saying it wasn't malicious or something.
Right.
Which, that's a separate.
The said loss did originate by an accidental act.
Yeah, it's pretty well documented what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, Mary's signing, so whatever. I mean, we can ask for clarification, try again 2 weeks.
Come visit me nearly enough.
Seems like they need to tell us, but that's about.
I don't think there's enough in the miscellaneous.
For our own mistakes.
Yeah.
We've done that before.
I don't think there's enough in the regular. There's not enough in the miscellaneous.
Special Rutland
Who
town
was driving the plow?
Boss.
highway department.
It's another bumper dummy.
There's a whole story, but it's okay. It's.
This,
I can live without the story.
the said loss was caused by an accident involving town highway department plowing near and into the facility.
Yeah, I guess it'd be easy to just ask for clarification.
Okay,
Cause
So what do we do to prevent it again?
well,
don't do
Don't
it.
let him drive?
Don't do it again.
Have the guy that does the route do the route, not the other guy.
yeah, so
That doesn't
do we
necessarily
send it
exempt you
back
from
and
the
just,
issue.
do we circle
can-
this?
I
Yeah.
can do that's fine.
All right, I'm gonna circle this
Yeah,
and
what is
I'll put this in the pink folder and you can ask them for it, obviously.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's it for the packet. Yeah, that's it for the packet.
Okay.
So on the desk you had the Pocket Park map, and you had some information we received from the Regional Planning Commission about some municipal energy project funding.
Oh, I saw.
Because we did not get the implementation grant, we have a free window to apply for the grant. That's the one we had the energy study done, but we didn't qualify for any of the implementation money because we were a medium town, not a high usage town. So they gave it to other people. So we could take some of the most recommendations were nothing that was earth shattering. That's part of the reason too. So, but it's zero interest financing. So
Yeah.
we can borrow the money, but we still got to pay it back, but we don't pay any interest. So it's not a grant. It's not a forgivable loan. But if something we want to do, that would pay for it.
Do we have any projects that I mean, I
Really?
would thinking the downstairs here, but
Yeah, but there's nothing, but the only
There's no
thing for
comments.
downstairs would be heat pumps, which we're put in downstairs, but really without doing that's the part of the problem is the layout of those was designed around the remodel. So until the remodel is like, it's
yeah,
a,
all right.
so
This is one of
there.
those received on the.
Yeah,
record.
I don't think there's really much to be able to do with it at this point, so.
Alrighty.
And then, let's see, so you had shared use path, did the subdivision, the new edition of the circle was emailed, to me just the other day, so it is now on the website. Printed copies will be in the office when they arrive. Did Kevin ever follow up about the right-of-way excavation ordinance? We still haven't gotten anything. I haven't heard back from him on that. And we wanted to get that in place before we paved the roads around, because
Yeah, before a brand new road goes, you get dug up.
so he had one question for me, which I answered several months ago, and I haven't heard back from him on it. So it'd be nice to get that one wrapped up.
Okay.
Kari talked about earlier, there was her office has been getting a lot of phone calls about the letters that Don had sent out. So she made an informational post online to help. We made a clarifying post to help some more. We added to it. So what I had done was I see the reference that was, it's not 20 days after the due date, which is essentially what it said. That's when the warrant is issued 20 days after. It's not 20. So there's no actual grace period. So that is fixed.
Website.
Yes. So we added, I went on to the statute and some other resources, and I added a lot more background for what his responsibility is, and that it's an elected position, and that it's his own position, and that the select board has no authority over his practices and things like that. So directed everybody to that. So so to kind of help with that. Don called and said he wanted to be defending himself in the post. And I said, that's not a good forum to do that. So he said, but I get a lot of the same phone calls all the time. I said, great. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to put together the list of these questions you're getting asked all the time and send them to me with the answers you want. And we will put that together and put that online. Within about 2 hours, it appeared in my inbox. So I will get that up there as soon as I can, but it's typically this time of year that those messages come through to him, because it's when the greatest concentration of these occur. So he is not going to go on a campaign to correct the record. I said, trying to do that online is not going to get the result you're hoping for. So we fixed that. Did have a nice meeting last week with Sarah Pelkey from the chamber. She came and talked.
Oh, Sarah Furman.
Sarah Furman. No, Sarah Furman did not come. There's a Sarah and Sarah. Sarah Furman's the new Sarah. Sarah Pelkey is the slightly less new Furman, or slightly less new Sarah. So she was great.
Done first.
Yeah, I know. So it's Sarah and Sarah. So we talked a lot about Quality Lane. I did go to the meeting, the Capitol for the day. Yep. And I was out there for the Clerk cookie cutters, which is just an amazing operation. They are the largest cookie cutter manufacturer in the world. Pretty amazing. And so I talked to her for a little bit there, and she came over and we talked a lot about there's actually quite a substantial parcel of land that the Rutland Industrial Development Corporation owns at the end of Quality Lane, which is currently doing nothing. So they're like, oh, she's like, oh, that actually is ours. Oh, and look, so there's a lot of things. So there's more conversations to come. And then she also promised to stop excluding us from things that happen in the town. So I don't know if that was, well, I mean, we're gonna,
not good to always have the mayor there.
No, it's not. So that was good. And then, so that's kind of all the topics I have, but tomorrow I'm planning to be here long enough to do the minutes, which is now going to take me
longer than I hoped for. But then I'm gonna be off until through next Tuesday.
Friday is Juneteenth, which is, how did we do it? It was one of those, take
You
this one
can
or
take your
another one.
birthday
Yeah,
or Juneteenth.
there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is an optional, it is an either or holiday for, yes, for town employees. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. The office is not, I
That's
don't
right.
believe they're intending to close the office on Friday. So
Okay.
mine will be, but I don't know about the rest of it. I have a lot of outside projects to get done with which of course every day is pretty much going to rain. So yeah, that
You
tracks.
gotta do it Tuesday every other week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did we cover everything?
Little side snippet with all these townwide celebrations and possible ribbon cuttings and whatnot. Should we get like maybe some polo shirts with our names on them?
We haven't done that for a while. That's a good idea.
So there were name tags at one point.
We did. There were name tags, and I dug mine out.
At least something to identify us.
And then there were the tags with our photos on them that you had the machine to
did,
do.
but then, well, right, the initial round we had photos for those, but I don't have photos for everybody, so that's hard to make IDs with no photos. So
Right.
if you all like to give me a photo, I'd be more than happy to make IDs. Josh had polos made. That was the last time they were done. Was
Yeah.
in the area.
I think a nice shirt with their name on it's fine.
Yeah, name sounds
I need a medium. I don't want a small.
If you'd all like to do that, we can do that. That's fine.
Sure.
We got a new fiscal year coming up. We want to get stuff. We can get stuff now. It's fine.
I've seen, I do, and yeah,
I think Mitchell Tees in Pittsburgh did them for us.
there
A
was
nice pretty blue like this. Can we cut a snippet out of the other one?
Yes, send it out.
Well, I think we did I think it was like a dark blue.
It was a
we did.
dark
Yeah.
blue.
So because the gold seal was better with that. So yeah.
Okay.
And the state legislators, I think, have these nifty vests, police vests.
Well,
which
it's
I
state
like.
money. So I mean,
Well,
it's,
I like
Yeah,
those
you can't
so much.
afford those.
Yeah.
you want a car
I don't
vest
think
or a
I
car
want
jacket?
Yeah.
I don't think I want fleece on a hot
Well,
day.
perhaps not, so,
I
okay.
just think we always go to these townwide celebrations and we're like,
We can
some people know us, some people don't.
we can get the
Some
shirts
we don't want
monogrammed
to.
if you want to. We can get just a name tag if you want. We have options. Whatever you'd
Yeah.
like to do.
Well, I mean, just for townwide celebration and for July 3rd, let's see if we can get some kind of name tags anyway, because the shirts may
personally
not
don't
be
think
done.
it'd be the worst thing in the world for everybody in the office to have those on a
Yeah.
pretty regular basis,
Yeah.
just as a matter of,
Yeah,
that's a different discussion.
all right, let's see what our options are and maybe,
Okay,
thank
we
you,
can do that. Sure.
yeah.
The fire station in Rutland got paved. They were aggressive. I think they saw the rain coming too, and they did everything today. So we've been to prevent from driving on it. We've been relocating vehicles to prevent driving on it. So to preserve the asphalt surface. So hopefully with the bunch of rains on it, it'll nice cool it down and it'll keep it solid. So we don't have the tire track problem again.
All right, we did the last, but we have the last budget status sheets. We made the Cortina
Yes.
motion. Do we need to make any, do we do the highway carryover motion? Or don't we need to do that? Do we need any other motion concerning?
The only one I don't know of just yet might be, I don't know how we want to go about the stormwater. Because Andres got bids back for the,
He did. He sent some clarifying questions because it was a good price,
yeah,
but he sent them some questions to make sure some key parts were included.
yeah.
We have not heard back on that yet.
So I don't know if we want to try to carry that line to the next year or if we just let it go to the capital improvement and pull it back out. Because I think there was some money left in that, wherever the heck it's hiding.
It is
Yeah.
5218.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so there's 37,000 in there.
Yeah.
So,
And this is for,
that'd be for Windmere. That Windmere stormwater pond.
Yeah.
I don't know, can we do that? I mean, we can do anything, right?
Wait.
All we have to do is say aye.
Suppose you can, and if you can't, Andrew will tell you later. You can't do it.
Yeah.
well, and
If you can carry the money over.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, or do we let it sweep and just pull it back out?
It's the same.
Yeah, it seemed, I don't like spending.
It is, Captain, it is.
It's not a, yeah, it's not,
Expensive enough that it's capital.
it's not, yeah, but it's not capital to us, it's capital to Windmere Development.
Well, right, but it
it carries out our obligation.
it does, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I just don't like using that capital improvement all willy-nilly. And then if you make a motion, then in 10 years, somebody can go back and say, well, they did it here, but yeah, well, there's grant money for that anyway.
Well, so that was the problem, is the construct, we have that stormwater grant, which now we can't use it for construction. It was apparently unclear, and now it's clear, we cannot use it for construction.
Of course it can.
So we had a $200,000 grant. We have spent 19,000, and we have 9 weeks to use the rest of it.
Yeah.
$100,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big grant.
Than construction.
And we can't
Design
construct.
essentially.
The problem, so some of that, a little bit came off the rails when Velco said not in our right of way, so that caused a problem. So, yeah, it's.
So we're gonna give up part of the grant money back to the state.
We can't, it's for design, and we were
designed
going
everything.
for construction, right, when we applied, the intent was for construction.
Yeah.
The design work
You
is.
can't, we couldn't use that money because this, expanding this stormwater pond is regulatory and the money couldn't be used for anything regulatory.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave.
They're regulatory for MS4.
Well, you need to design is also regular.
Well, and this 37,000 is part of that?
No, this was money.
It was our match?
Based upon Andres's scope of services, he says, this is what I anticipate you needing to contribute from the town.
Okay,
That's what's left.
okay. So it could go into capital construction because it's not state money subject to the prohibition.
Right, right. No, this is taxpayer
Okay,
revenue.
all right.
Yes.
So I don't know, highway guys.
I don't know. We don't have any idea how our general budget's gonna turn out.
Yeah,
For a little bit.
yeah.
So,
Well, and you had the whole thing with more plowing and all of that. So.
yeah, I just hate to sweep it and then pay for that project out of capital improvement because I don't know.
Well, so the bid we got one.
But they're
And-
not due until,
Oh, I think they were due.
Oh.
But this is what, like, same thing, like, Watershed Consulting was handling the whole process for us, just like Otter Creek Engineering done for us. So, so he asked some questions because there were some aspects of the project which are included in the bid specs, but he wanted to make sure they knew were in the bid specs and that their bid didn't exclude them accidentally.
oh,
So he asked for follow-up.
Because it was 70-ish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so about 70 grand less than he thought
Yeah.
it was gonna.
You have to have a special meeting. Have the money for the end of this year, right?
Well, I mean, I think technically you could still make the motion next meeting. It's
could.
the expenditures the orders are gonna be in next year's budget, but
Right,
we're still before the date, so we could make the motion next meeting.
right. You can't spend any more money.
right. We wouldn't be, we're just allocating.
Yeah.
But right, okay, so this was the last meeting to have orders approved to be paid from this fiscal year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can still vote to withhold that on the next one. So maybe we should,
So Bill might get an answer
yeah.
from Andres.
I will do my best.
Because in my mind, it would be cleaner to carry that to the next stormwater line and then expend it than to put it into a capital improvement fund, which in my eyes should be spent on like building improvements and then dump it into an infrastructure improvement in a private neighborhood. I mean, so I think it'd be cleaner to keep it here if we can.
So just remember we should do that.
Yeah, maybe we should put that. Yeah, let's put that on the agenda so we don't miss that.
Agenda.
Nice good color under it.
Does that work better? Does the color underline work better? You like that? Rather than the highlighting?
Yeah, those are nice.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
They come and go. Something.
All right. So that, and then of course we have the Nemrick versus
Emmerich versus Patriot.
Patriot.
Yeah.
Here we go. We can fight it.
Yeah. Anything else? We did cover everything.
We're good.
Oh, committee meeting, fire, anything from that?
No.
It was just a recommendation from, they met minutes before the last meeting, so that's,
Oh, okay.
I couldn't do them in time, so
Okay.
that's why they're here now.
And that was for the municipal impact
Yeah.
question. Okay. we
This
got it.
does need a factor meeting for some ordinance work that he wants to do. But that's
All right.
Let's get
another time.
I don't have anything else.
All right, move to adjourn.
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.